Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerfherder Council.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, as well as the Facebook page and YouTube channel of the Virtual Cantina Network. We are also live on the Nerfherder Council Twitch page, if you are into that sort of thing. As usual, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to click that like button and the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live, kind of like when AJ does a WTF Friday with a Lego build, which we're going to get into a little bit here tonight with a live Lego build of a Xenomorph. If you guys would like to get customizable Nerfherder Council swag, just go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. And if you'd like to get some awesome Virtual Cantina Network gear, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. Before we get rolling here and I bring on AJ, real quick, guys, do not forget that the views of the Nerfherder Council do not necessarily reflect those of the Virtual Cantina Network, and there may be little bit of bad language on our show. So if you guys are not into that sort of thing, you may want to turn it off. And I think tonight, most importantly, we are going to have a lot of spoilers. We are going to be talking about Alien Romulus. So if you have not seen the movie yet and you are trying to remain spoiler free, this is not the show for you unless you just want to mute it. And you can watch AJ build Lego while we are just a couple of floating talking heads. So speaking of floating talking heads, without further ado, he is my brother and my best friend. He is on a new computer. Let's hope everything goes smashingly. Unlike if I were on a new computer. AJ, what is up?
Hey, man. Yeah, it's not going quite smashingly yet, but I think I got most of it going. How do I sound?
Sound fine. Sound fine.
Okay.
Oh, my God. This is like one of the very few times it's ever been a tech problem that is not mine or caused by me. So that's good.
Yeah, we're almost perfect. I'm hearing you through my speakers instead of through my earbud here. But no one can hear that, so I guess we're okay.
Yeah, don't press any buttons.
Enough.
Yeah, don't press any buttons, man. But yeah, so this ought to be fun, dude. I'm excited. Talking Alien is cool. I actually was invited to do an episode of Mocktails from the Cantina, the fantastic podcast by our very, very good friend, Mr. Chris Mocked. I did that on Monday. So this will be the second time in 3 days that I have dug into the Alien franchise and Romulus in particular. So I'm looking forward to it. And we're doing something kind of interesting. You are going to be doing a build of a Lego Xenomorph. And before we get to that, I would just like to say, speaking of Lego, fuck those goddamn Harry Potter Lego games. I don't know what the hell they're doing with these puzzles, but like I'm on the first damn, I'm in Sorcerer's Stone at the beginning of Sorcerer's Stone. And I've had to like Google hints a couple times already. I'm like, this is asinine. Like, make it a little more self-explanatory. So fuck that shit. In any case,
that thing's made for children, right? Like,
I am aware of that, and it pisses me off. Now I know why it's one of the free games, for PlayStation Plus, because they were like, we can't sell enough of this goddamn thing. So, yeah, there's that. So, anyways, back to topic. Yeah, you are going to be doing a live build of a Xenomorph, which is cool because you kind of do those on. Boy, my hair is everywhere tonight. I'm gonna look like a total asshole more so than usual. Yeah, so you usually do Lego builds for like WTF Friday, which is pretty cool. So I'm excited to see you do that here on a regular show because I've always thought that those are interesting, and I think they're a good time. And I'm not just saying that because you're my brother and my co-host. I think they're really fun. So I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a setup where we're going to have the instructions on screen, and we're going to have a third camera here so you can watch the build as it progresses. And hopefully the tech setup doesn't fail us. We'll see. Hopefully this is a bit of a dry run, trial by fire, but we'll see how it goes. I prepped for the show tonight by rewatching Alien.
Okay.
And Prometheus, actually, because I'm not sure. How are you with the prequel movies, the Prometheus and Alien Covenant?
I liked him. I thought Prometheus was a little confusing. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Uh, a little too existential for my tastes, I think. I'm like, look, just let's get to the alien part of this damn thing. But I thought it was good. It had, with David the android, it made things really creepy. Um, I thought it had that alien type of feel to it, which was good. And Ridley Scott just brings more of a he's got a creep factor to it, and I think it's just because it's his initial story, or at least he was part of bringing the original story to the screen, I should say. He just has a better handle on how those movies should feel. So, I think, James Cameron did a really good job with Aliens, kind of making it like much more of like an action movie.
Mhm.
So I think that's why it stands out along with the original as, the two best entries in the franchise. And then the other ones are kind of like, okay. Like they're good and they're like entertaining, but they're just kind of like compared to, the first two. So
Yeah, I feel
until
like
Ridley
these
Scott
kind of
came back.
exist. We'll get started with the build here because, frankly, I need as much time as possible to get this done, or else we'll be
Sure.
podcasting all night. But yeah, I think it's interesting that this one, James Cameron is very good at coming in and doing interesting things with sequels, right? Like the Terminator was kind of like a B movie with an A level production budget, and then Terminator 2 is action movie like crazy. And the same thing with Alien and Aliens. I guess that's just the type of movie he kind of excels at. What do you think?
I would think so. Real quick, John Phillips, good to see you. He says, not playing Outlaws. I took a half day of work on Friday to do that, actually. I'm logging off at noon and promptly waddling my fat ass downstairs, and I'm going to be a bounty hunter for the rest of the day. So I've got family plans literally all weekend. I've got a show and I got family plans and stuff like that. And Friday's the only time I had to play the game.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it then. Kale, good to see you as always. He says, this is going to be interesting. Dad saw Romulus the other night, so I can at least echo his biggest takeaway from it. He also says, this is going to be interesting. I already read that one. Where'd it go? There we go. We're off to a smashing start. Aliens was great. Alien 3 fucked it up immediately. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was quite that bad, but it wasn't great, I think.
Yeah. That I rewatched that one too. I've been on a little bit of an Aliens kick lately. Alien 3, man, I'll tell you what a hack job of a movie. And I mean hack job is in like, it's clear that they filmed a bunch of stuff and then had to just murder it in the edit to put it together. Like they didn't know what they were shooting, and then they had to find it in the editing room. And it's just like scenes don't really mesh, and the story is just kind of meh. But we were talking offline about that assembly cut. They can't actually call it the director's cut because David Fincher is not the one who did it. But I gotta find that, and I think you have it. I think it's on the quadrilogy, the anthology or whatever, the 4-disc whatever.
Yeah, the quadrilogy.
Yeah, so if you've got that, man, we've got to do that sometime. I got to come over and watch that. Maybe that'll be one of our cookout nights. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll check because I do have that set. And that set's worth it just for the behind the scenes. I mean, the number of hours on the making of and writing of all 4 of those movies is just absolutely killer. So, yeah, it's definitely worth it. So even if I actually said this on Chris's show the other night on Mocktails, I mentioned that, even if you're not into physical media, if you're into the Aliens franchise, it's well worth going and getting yourself a copy of it. So I think it's worth it. But back to your point though, talking about James Cameron and doing, action movies well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, he seems to, I mean, everything he's done, at least that he's well known for, has this huge cinematic scope to it. You know what I mean? Like, because when you think of him, you think of Titanic, and you think of, like you said, Terminator 2, and now you think of the Avatar movies and whatnot. And, he just, and you nailed it. Like, Terminator was basically a B movie, but, with at least a reasonable budget. And it felt a lot bigger than a lot of those other movies of its type in that year and around that time. It was 1984 with the original Terminator.
Mhm.
And I think it, you know, compared to those other movies, I think it looks really good, and you know, it's, you know, the story is pretty concise. I thought it was a very original story. So, you know, I like that. The one thing that was interesting that I thought he did differently, was, you know, Chris and I were talking on Monday, and he was talking about how, you know, when Aliens came out, that was kind of the era of like the badass good guy, you know, that you had like, you know, Predator and Die Hard and all those sorts of movies with these guys just running around kicking ass. And then he kind of turns it on its ear because you've got, you know, the Colonial Marines and Aliens, and they basically just get, you know, their shit handed to them by the you know, by the xenomorphs. So, you know, it was kind of like an interesting twist on what was going on in other movies. So I thought that was a good point that he made. So
Yeah, the whole unstoppable alien thing is kind of cool because yeah, I mean there's no way that in the first movie they're going to prepare for the anything because it's the first time they've ever encountered them. But then when the second movie comes around, you've got, you know, Colonial Marines. They're supposed to be the baddest of the badass, and they get easily overrun too. So yeah, good job on building the threat. Now, Alien Romulus kind of takes it back to the original formula.
yeah.
So as much as they say like it slots between the two, which chronologically it does, how did you feel about the way they built the threat back with just one alien again?
I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought it kind of it kind of it really kind of brought back the feel of the first two, I think. I think it got a little bit, you know, it was just a more quality story, I thought. And it was, you know, I thought they added things to, you know, to the alien lore without it being too cheesy. Except for one thing, which, you know, we'll get to, where they rip themselves off. But you know, even with, you know, all of the little Easter eggs and stuff, like, which I didn't think there were as many as other people did. Like, you know, there's a lot of complaints in reviews, or, you know, they're saying that, well, you know, there's way too many Easter eggs and stuff. And I didn't notice a ton of them. I thought that they were tongue in cheek enough. I mean, obviously you had a couple obvious ones, of course, you know, with Rook and, you know, saying, you know, I won't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies. And then obviously, you know, get away from her, you bitch, was in there. And, you know, but all these other things, you know, I mean, yeah, I it's funny when I saw the movie and that line hit the screen, I could hear your eyes rolling all the way from Cuyahoga Falls. I know you hate that sort of thing. But I didn't think the rest of it was over the top, whereas some of the reviewers did. So I you know, it didn't bother me as much. But yeah, I thought it had a really cool feel to it, and I think they brought back a little bit of the fear factor that I think was missing from some of the other ones. In particular, you know, again, you know, when they added something, you know, to the lore, it was kind of cool. It added a creep factor because you hadn't seen it yet. So and
Mhm.
we'll talk about a
Mhm.
few of those things. But so why don't you get this build started here? Like I'm sitting here looking at the screens off screen, but let's get them on screen and start making us an alien.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah, exactly. I'm not the one that's not bringing the damn thing up.
So, all right. So yeah, I'll be building over here in this main area, giant hand, and we'll be talking up here. So let's get to building, shall we? Yeah. So I think one of the hardest things to do with a movie like this, one, you've got a franchise that people really love, but as we've talked about, it's kind of amazing how much we had that franchise is worse than we remember um episode, and Alien was definitely on that for good reason, I think.
Yeah.
Uh because boy, we're talking about Alien and Aliens, and then we've already had a comment about Alien 3 being trash, and you know, we haven't brought up Alien Resurrection yet, or you know, any of these other future attempts. But man, do you think it was a good call to go back to that original formula and basically just insert a movie between the two that people like?
Yeah, I think it's smart because I mean, what else are you gonna do? I mean, I think you almost kind of had to because, you know, we're not, if we ever get, you know, the third, you know, Ridley Scott movie of the prequels, we haven't gotten it. We don't know if we're getting it. Other, you know, going into a new alien story. I mean, what are they going to tell? they've done the 4 Ripley movies, and at that point it's just, a whole bunch of people find the xenomorphs and then they get killed, and then there's one dude that survives. Okay, let's move on to the next movie. So I think to go back to the original 2 that people liked and kind of lean on that a little bit was smart. Because I mean, let's face it, there's really not much more you can do with this. They have acid for blood, they're damn near indestructible. I mean, there's not a lot that you're going to be able to do with this thing. So to kind of lean on something that was already popular and kind of put a little bit of a fresh twist on it, I think was a good idea. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Like you said, there's only so many good ideas you can have with a franchise like this. And at some point, like you just got to stick with what works. As much as we love, like, oh, I love that one, make another one. Like sometimes there's just nothing else to make. Like there's only a certain number of ideas that you can come up with before it just gets stupid. And I think we've seen that with Terminator, where like, yeah, killer robot comes back from the future. And, it looks like no matter how much we go ahead and actually fight the future happens anyway. Okay, well,
yeah.
How many movies can you stretch that out for? Let's find out.
Yeah, right.
I think the interesting thing that they put in this one was by connecting it to the original Alien, but having so much more lore to draw on. There was a question here in the comments, actually. Nick Hall was asking, did Feedy? I don't know what Fetty. Did Fetty do as good with this as he did with Evil Dead? And yeah, that's a really good question, actually, because that was another one where he's good at rejuvenating an old franchise. It doesn't seem like it's got any lifeblood in it, but I think that with this one, they did a good job of coming up with new material and tying even the lesser preferred elements of the franchise back to this movie. So, like, I know you're a big fan of that Alien Isolation game, for example. So did you catch the references to that?
Yeah, I caught those references. I still think that that's the best sequel to Alien and Aliens that there is. That really gets the feel of the first movie. I don't know if it's because it's a video game, so you're a little bit more immersed in it, but I mean that game has a very loyal following because of how it really ties into just how terrifying Aliens started out being with that very first film. I mean, but that one, same thing. There's only one alien. I mean, there's other stuff going on the space station, of course, during the course of the game, but even those are kind of creepy. You get the average Joe androids, which are basically indestructible as well. But you barely see the alien, and you can't kill the alien. Like the whole time, you just have to escape it. So it's not like they made it, like one of those games where you're the Marines and you just got to blow them away and all this kind of crap. Like, it was terrifying, and I thought, yeah, like this one is up there as well. I think, I think, I saw right after it came out, someone had immediately ranked the Alien movies, and this was third behind Alien and Aliens, and I actually would agree with that.
I think that's pretty fair. Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Graham J, thanks for tuning in. He says, I went in with low expectations and came out feeling underwhelmed. So your low expectations, it didn't even meet low expectations. Huh.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting. That's like honestly, Graham,
you're
you're the first person I've heard with like an actual, like, legitimately bad review of the movie. Everything else I've seen has been positive. Kale says, what else we haven't mentioned is the Alien versus Predator movies. I don't remember those being good, but the game was fun. Those movies are shit.
Oh God, I forgot that existed.
I am just not a fan of those types of things. Like, everyone loves Freddy versus Jason, and I'm just going on record as saying it. I thought it sucked. It takes away any of the cool factor. It just takes away any of the cool factor of either of the franchises from me when that kind of crap goes down. I don't like it. I'm like, Freddy was cool on his own. Jason's cool on his own. Okay. It's basically just a video game when you do it like that. And the same thing with Alien versus Predator. I just was not a fan. I'm like, this is dumb. Our cousin Chris, good to see you, cuz. Love you. He says, I'd love to see an Alien versus Terminator movie.
I mean, they've done it in the comics plenty of times.
Now, does see, but the thing of it is, like, the alien would always lose, because if the Terminator did lose, they would just send back another Terminator that could, actually, like, the metal alloy would actually not get burned by the acid blood and stuff like that. So it would be kind of unfair, I think.
Okay, that's true.
Joseph Frank, good to see you, brother. He says, "Don't make another Alien Resurrection. Make more Alien. I suggest we discuss further in the lab, gentlemen." Yeah, it's I really think that leaning on the first two films was a very smart decision. You make a good point about Fede Alvarez, I think is his name.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I think that was a very good choice, especially I think because this one kind of gave you a chance to get into the characters. Oh, baby xenomorph. Baby xenomorph.
And that's our show for tonight. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
On that note, we'll close up shop. Yeah, no, I think this movie kind of gave you a chance to really, I think, get behind the characters a little bit more. So I thought that was good. Admittedly, I didn't like them at first. It was starting out kind of like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake for me, where I was like, oh, fuck these people. Like, I'm rooting for the alien. And I only really came out of it just really hating one character. And it was the douchebag in the beanie or whatever that hated androids or whatever.
Yeah.
But he got his comeuppance in an awesome way. So that was a great death.
Dude, right? Like, see, here's one thing I'll give Alvarez credit for. Like, he did all the horror movie tropes, like all the stereotypical characters were in there. And even knowing that, I loved it. I ate it all up. I was like, okay, we know exactly who the shitty guy is we're not supposed to root for. We know who the good people are that we're going to feel bad about when they die, and so on. And like, it didn't hamper my enjoyment knowing that was going to be a thing,
Yeah. Are you building a face hugger?
No, I built a face hugger.
Oh. This is great for our audio viewers, by the way. Look at that's badass, man. Lego rules, just not Lego Harry Potter video games.
That is something I should point out, by the way. This is not Lego. This was not a set produced by Lego. This is a fan design. So this is what the fan designs are really great for. Is it's something that you would never get from Lego. Lego's not going to do an alien. They've even got like a chest burster if you want one of those. Like,
but does it have is it like a human torso and it pops open and really?
Well, it doesn't pop open. It's just a static sculpture, but yeah, it's already sticking out of a bloody chest cavity.
Oh, would it be great if it did open up? Like you've got like the little motion thing in the back, like R2, how you can do like the little motors with R2. They just have a motor where the chest pops open and the thing shoots out. That'd be awesome. That'd be
fantastic. Now this stuff is almost like cheating, but hey, Lego made these pieces, so
these are actually all Lego made pieces. I guess that would make sense. Like a fan's gonna like build its own pieces. Never mind.
Oh, right? Yeah. So like, yeah, these aren't made by Lego, but these are clones of Lego pieces. So Lego made a piece that looked just like this, and then some Chinese company stole the mold and did their own.
So Kale says
$20 on Temu, so I figured I might as well take a shot, right?
How much was it?
$20.
Oh, geez, that's cheap. Okay. Kale says, I did see there was a cinema somewhere in the U.S. that had face huggers on every seat for the opening screening. Yeah, I would have been.
I want to say it was like Alamo Draft House in Texas. They always seem to do all the cool stuff.
That'd be awesome to kind of see a movie there. And by kind of, I mean definitely. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that they added to the lore, because I think that's a big part of the movie, at least to me, because I wasn't expecting them to add things that we hadn't seen and kind of like broaden what we know about the xenomorphs. So I think for me, I think that the coolest thing that they did was they explained how the face huggers hunt. So, they said, there's that, they get to a part where, and for those of you guys who didn't tune in for the intro, by the way, this is going to be a very spoilerific episode. So if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and tune out now. But yeah, so when they get to that room, which is full of face huggers, and they have to, it's their only way through to get to the where they got to go.
Mhm.
And they're like, what the hell are we gonna do? And then Andy the android, he's got the chip from the actual science officer android on the space station, and he tells them that basically like they hunt with sound and temperature. So Nick Hall bouncing. Thanks for the warning. Sorry, bro. Yeah, we pretty much, if we're gonna talk about something we've seen, we're like at spoilers. Just it's we're gonna spoil it.
We are not clever enough to talk about things that we've seen without spoilers and still be able to fill a show. So sorry about that.
Exactly. We saw the movie. All right. Well, on that note, we're gonna close up shop.
Yep.
But yeah, and so they said that they hunt with sound and temperature, and so they basically raise the temperature in that room to 98.6 so that it is the exact same temperature as the humans. So if they get through the room silently, the facehuggers aren't going after them.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was really, really cool. There was no cheese factor involved. It made sense. I really thought that was a great idea. I thought it was really, really cool. We probably thought it was self-explanatory in a way when you think about it. But it was cool to see. Yeah. I mean, did you like that little twist there?
I think it was done well overall. I think the issue is you run a risk sometimes, especially in a franchise like this. It's a little disjointed with its continuity. If you explain too much, it kind of ruins the mystique. It's like the Boba Fett problem. People want to know more about him, but then when you actually explain it, it kind of diminishes a little bit.
Right.
I feel like this is a franchise that could have that, but sorry. But at the same time, like if you explain it too much, the more you explain, the easier it is to poke holes in your own logic then, right?
Yeah.
So I liked it. I don't know how else they would have done it, but especially sticking so closely to only what was established in Alien and Aliens. I wish they would have had something besides just face huggers as the big threat throughout the movie. Well, like it went straight to face huggers, and it was just face huggers for the whole thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know. See, I understand where you're coming from there. Speaking of face huggers, our cousin says it'd be funny if there was a butt hugger that chased around its victims and tried to jump on their asses and tried to insert its protrusion into their anuses. People be running around covering their asses.
That's a good point. I mean, one hole's as good as another, right?
I don't even want to think about what the alien would look like if it did that. Would it be different? It just looked like a giant turd. Like, wait, this isn't very scary. Like, what the? Yeah, I think, you know what, dude? I think I would disagree with that. I mean, because in every other movie, you've got your face huggers here and there, okay, whatever. But then the threat is the big giant xenomorph killing people. So I thought to kind of, make the face huggers a little bit more prominent in the villain role, I thought was pretty cool because it does kind of turn the standard, alien movie plot on its ear, I think. So I thought that was cool. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the face huggers. I was surprised they introduced so many of them so quickly. I thought that they would take a little bit longer to build into that, but they're, they fall into that room that's in the trailers like immediately.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I guess it kind of made sense. Like I said, they were breeding them on purpose, so of course there would be a ton of face huggers. Yeah. How did you feel about the whole way they even kicked off the series of events by saying they were able to recover the alien from the end of the first movie?
That I didn't like. I thought that was kind of stupid. I mean, the things are basically indestructible as it is, right? But now you're going to say they can survive the vacuum of space. Like, what the hell is that? Like, enough. That's just dumb. That's like having a superhero in the next movie. They have a new power, and then they have a new power, and then they have a new power. Like, stop it. Like, it's they have it
like, so they cut it out of a rock or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, how did it end up in a rock?
When they showed that meteorite thing that it was in, all I kept thinking about was Joe Dirt. Nope, that's a chunk of poopy. Just
You nailed
that's
it
a
though.
peanut. That's a peanut right there. A space peanut. Um, yeah, I didn't understand how that happened either. Obviously, it collected some sort of crap while it was out there in space. But yeah, that part I did not like. I was just like, seriously, that's what you're gonna do?
Or are we
Um,
just nitpicking? Is that one of those things where just like forget about it? It's a way to get the plot going and just move on, you know?
yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad as a dog pissing fire on the bones of Freddy Krueger and him coming back. It wasn't that shitty, but I mean,
You know, that
it,
sounds like a joke, except it's not.
I know, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's not as bad as that. Graham J says, my comment was a bit harsh. I would just like to see a different take on this well-worn plot. I mean, you don't have to walk it back, Graham. I mean, AJ and I have a ton of terrible takes or harsh takes on the show. It's all good.
Mhm.
In terms of different take on this well-worn plot, uh, if you think about it, Graham, I agree with you on that completely, and I just can't figure out what the hell they would do that's different. Because I think as soon as you kind of do the whole, well, they did get to Earth and now they're wreaking havoc on Earth thing, you're going to end up with kind of the same thing it's been before. It's just in a different locale,
Mhm.
and it's not, I'll use a perfect example of why I don't know if I would like that, and why that would worry me. Tron 3. I am the biggest friggin' Tron nerd ever. I love the two Tron movies, but part of the coolness of it is all the crap happening on the grid. It's something that is not in our world. It looks really badass. It's a visual spectacle along with the story. Well, this third one, apparently, they get out of the grid, so it happens, a lot of it, if not most of it, I don't know yet, obviously, in the real world. I'm like, well, that kind of takes away the coolness of it. That's almost like having Top Gun without fighter jets.
Right.
So
And in fact, they had that in Maverick, and I was like, "Ugh, really?"
wait a minute, they had fighter jets in there.
Well, remember there was the part where they got shot down, and then they of course had to find the old one.
All right, look, we do not. Well, I do not tolerate any hate on Top Gun Maverick on this show. What the hell's wrong with you? Build your
Look,
Legos.
it was a great movie. It was a great movie. I'm just saying though, if you got to pick the low point, it's the point where the fighter pilots aren't fighting in planes, you know?
That's not the low point. I mean, there is a low point, but that's not it. The
Well,
low
what's the
point
low
is the low point is when the end credits roll. Everybody knows that. Jeez. But yeah, shit. Now I lost my friggin' place. Anyways, Graham. Yeah, don't worry about having a harsh take. We have those all the time. So, yeah, oh, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, back to the whole indestructible, found him in space thing. Yeah, I thought that was kind of dumb, and I will accept it, I suppose, for the exact reason that you mentioned, which is to say, uh, you know, they had to start it up somehow.
Mhm.
So, and it's better than just, oh, we found a face hugger thing. Like what? Okay. So, all right.
Yeah,
Zach
at least it was
Sawyer.
all deliberate. It wasn't just a matter of like, well, they found another alien.
Yeah. Zach Sawyer, thanks for tuning in. He says, you guys spoil Romulus or we not telling? This is a spoilerific show. As AJ said, we're not bright enough to not do spoilers.
Yep.
So yeah, if you've seen it, you're good. If you haven't and you're trying to remain spoiler free, this is not the show for you. So yeah, we are spoiling. Yep. Kale, thank you. They will be dealing in spoilers throughout the remainder of the episode. Yeah, Kale, I don't think we're going to be able to do it like we did the Deadpool episode where we just tell you to, earmuffs. So, yeah, I didn't like that. The one thing I did like though was how, Zach Sawyer says, "Well, then tell them about the engineer, baby." Yeah, that was, I forgot about that. I had totally forgot about that. That kind of
Do we
skipped my
want to jump
mind.
right to the end? Because I got thoughts on the engineer baby.
No, we can get to that later in the show because that is a low point. Definitely the low point of the movie. Yeah, so the other thing that I liked was how they showed the cocoon Because usually you see a face hugger, then you got the chest burster. It's a little PP alien. Then like half an hour later, it's like what are those things like sea monkeys or whatever, or or when remember when we were kids and they would give you like this little like capsule, like a pill, and you put it in water and it would blow up into like a sponge that was the size of a house that was the shape
Oh,
of
yeah.
an animal or something. Yeah. Zach's on our ass. He says, it's not low. It's scary, you fucking liar. It is not scary. Fine. You want to get into it? All right. It's not fucking scary because we've already seen it. We saw it at the end of goddamn Resurrection. They're ripping off their own fucking idea. That's not scary. I can't imagine.
But see, it's different this time. It's different because instead of looking like a human alien hybrid, it's an engineer alien hybrid, you see.
I don't care what it is. It looked like it was an unfinished idea.
It really did.
I was like,
it really looked like they had like the Alien Resurrection hybrid, but they forgot to put the head on the guy.
Yeah. I'm like, why is this thing so damn tall? Like, and why is it all skinny? Why does it just look like a really shitty version of the one from Resurrection?
Yeah, I thought
Like,
the Resurrection one was better. There's
it's
very
way
little
better.
that you can praise Alien Resurrection for, but that is definitely something that I think that did better.
Well, dude, that one they did an amazing job with, because you had that split second where it was getting sucked out the airlock, where it had that look on its face where you felt bad for it for a very split second. You're like, oh my God, they just made me feel bad for this thing.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
I was like, holy shit. So
I felt nothing for this one.
Yeah, this one felt like completely unfinished. It just felt like they started doing the graphics and then just stopped. They ran out of time and money. Went, oh, we got to put the movie out. Just leave what's in there. It was like a guide track or something. It was. Oh, I'm like, what the fuck is this thing? So yeah, Zach, I did not like it.
Yeah, I mean, they got to do the old trope of the like, you think the movie's over, but here's a fake out. There's one last confrontation thing, but even that, like, as much as you want to pay homage to the franchise and all of its tropes, I think some of them can be left behind.
Yeah, well, I will say this in Zach's defense, I didn't know that was an engineer baby. I was so taken out of it because it just looked human enough to where I was like, what the hell is this goddamn thing? I've already seen this, but it does explain why it was so freaking tall. That one really got me. I'm like, why is this thing like 9 feet tall?
Yeah.
Like, what the shit? Did she fuck a basketball player or something? Was she like pregnant with Shaq's baby or something? Like, Jesus, like Yao Ming or whatever. Like,
I think my biggest issue with the creature throughout the whole thing was like the gestation period was just all over the place, right? Like, I understand that's just movie making. Like, how fast does it grow? As fast as the plot needs it to.
Yeah.
I mean, especially I went back and watched that first one again just to see like how fast did that thing grow? And the answer is not very. It was like over a day to gestate before it was a chest burster. And it kind of grew fast from there, but not like this one. These are like, oh, you got face hugged. Well, you got 10 minutes to live.
Yeah. It's the microwave version.
Right. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Jiffy Pop. Yeah, I didn't really think too much about that, because I think that's one of those things where it's kind of like you said, how fast do they grow? Fast enough to move the plot along. But the one thing I did like that I was getting to before, we were talking about Zach's point about the engineer baby. I liked how they showed the cocoon, because you're like, how do these things turn from little PP alien to big giant alien in like 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we find out that they actually go and make a cocoon where they grow inside the cocoon and then pop out all big. And it's like, oh, okay. So at least it was an explanation. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I wonder if that's even like a bit of an homage to the what they call the egg morpher scene that was deleted from the theatrical cut of Alien.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Because that's always a question that a lot of people have had anyway. It's like, okay, we got the queen in Aliens, so that explains where that comes from. But what we never got was an explanation of like, if there's only one alien, like, and you kill it, is like that like it? Like,
yeah,
is that the way you defeat aliens? Is just make sure there's never a queen? And apparently not. So the deleted egg morphing scene basically, again, I like that it was not clearly explained. I think that's what the first movie did really well, and this one might have done a little bit too much of is explaining how things work.
Okay.
Because again, there's some threat in not knowing, and you can also buy into things a lot more if they're not fully explained. Because once, like I said, once they are, you can start to poke holes in it. But the egg morpher scene, basically, it showed Bryce. No, not Bryce. See, the other guy's named Dallas. I'm just thinking Bryce Dallas Howard. But anyway, the first guy who the alien takes, and then Dallas, and they're shown like glued up against a wall, like they show in Aliens. But the difference is like they're at different stages of decomposing into an alien egg, basically.
Wait, so they become an egg?
Yeah, basically, like whatever the alien does to them to stick them up on the wall, it like it begins digesting them and producing an egg from it. And that explains how, like, even without a queen, they can still reproduce.
I'm glad they didn't put that in there because that's stupid. See, that's too much.
Fun.
No, I don't. Well, I'm like, no, don't you dare have that opinion of yours.
Well, otherwise, like it does kind of leave a question. It's like, how the hell are these things such a threat? As long as there's no queen around, you've only got one to deal with ever.
Yeah, but I think that's one of those things that shouldn't be explained because it's a dumb thing. I've always wondered that. Like, wait a minute, there's no queen. How are they doing this?
You mean like frog DNA with dinosaurs?
That made sense though. That was a cool explanation, I thought.
Life finds a way.
That was pretty damn good. Real quick, Kale says the engineer baby, is that the human Xeno hybrid that Dad told me about that made him dislike the entire film? Apparently he's going through the whole movie like, this is good. Oh, sweet. Then the hybrid thing shows up and he went, oh, God damn it.
Fuck this film.
Yeah. Kale, it didn't do that to me, but I did do the oh God damn it at the end. I was not a fan of that. I really liked the movie overall, but I really did think that was not great. Yeah, no, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. You know, the whole egg thing. Like, I'm glad I didn't see that because that just seems kind of dumb. Again, that's just taking it too far. It because it's like that's just not a. It's one. It's again, it adds to the superpower, and I don't like that.
The other thing it does for me though is it explains like why the alien is taking these people. Like, if he's not eating them, then what the hell is he doing with them?
But see, here's the thing. Like in the first one, that wasn't the case. He just killed them. It wasn't until the second we saw the cocooning, but then we saw the mother laying the eggs, and she was cocooning them as basically food for the face huggers. So okay, that all makes sense. To say that they don't need a queen, well, it's like that kind of takes away the coolness of the queen. Like that's kind of like you got to have the queen to make all this happen. Oh no, they could just pop out of nowhere. And again, like the whole thing, they can reproduce whenever. Now they can survive in space. Like just stop it. Like stop it.
I feel like without that piece though, because I really wish I had time to have seen the movie a second time before we did the show. How did they end up with a ton of face huggers off of just that recovering the one alien from the Nostromo?
That's a very good question. It's one of those unexplained things, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I assume they, extracted DNA from the alien itself, and then I don't know, somehow I guess the facehugger is like the first stage of life or something. It's a little bit unclear. I don't think that's a problem though. Do you really care that much?
No. But now I'm Googling this. I want to see, where did the
by the way, you can just go on YouTube if you want to see that egg morphing scene. It's in there.
That's what I figured. Where did all the face huggers and xenomorphs come from? Let's see. There's a Reddit thread, which of course you can trust everything on there.
Oh, is it specific to Alien Romulus?
Or Rook says they were
alien we're talking about now.
Yeah, it says Rook says they were extracted from Big Chap's DNA and it appears 3D printed. He also says explicitly that the goo is from these people can't type. He also says explicitly that the goo is from specifically this stage in the life cycle. The implication being that it's relevant since then face huggers implant is the what? Jesus Christ. Do people read what they type? Let's see.
See, this is why I wanted to go back and watch Prometheus again, because I know the black goo is such a big deal in Prometheus. And I didn't well, the opening scene of Prometheus confused me. So this guy gets dropped off on a planet and drinks something that kills him. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And then he basically just contaminates the water supply of an entire planet.
Yeah. All right. Well, here it is. It says Rook says, according to Rook, they extracted Big Chap's DNA and used that to 3D print the facehuggers. The Renaissance crew were used to create more
aliens from the first movie.
What happened?
I assume Big Chap is the nickname of the alien from the Nostromo.
Yes. Yeah. So they 3D printed.
What other nicknames do they have? Let's. That's Sarge over there.
That's Chief. That's how you doing there, Slugger? You don't know my name. Yeah, 3D printing. That's interesting. So yeah, I guess that's where they got them. They had figured out how to basically clone those things, I suppose. Which always raises the question, why the hell would you want to? But yeah. Plus, I will say, what did you think about Rook?
Oh, I love. So we're gonna talk about Rook finally. Okay.
Yes.
I think that was a needless inclusion.
See, I've heard that a lot, and I thought it was awesome.
Deepfake Ian Holm didn't look so great at times. It's a lot like Tarkin from Rogue One, where credit is due, but there's definitely plenty of times where you're like, I know that's not a human face I'm looking at.
Okay.
So like it, and I don't think it was necessary for the story. Like it wasn't the actual, like Ash was the guy in the first movie. So it was just another of the same model of Android. Like, why do we need that? We know there's different models of Android. So why couldn't they have just done a different one, or maybe get Lance Henriksen back, have him do and digitally de-age him or something, So
yeah, but
he was
like yeah, but Bishop was a good guy. I thought it was cool to bring back Ash. In this case, they, he, like you said, he's the same model, just different name. Rook is what they called him. I thought it was cool because it adds that, okay, what's going on here factor. Like, not that you don't know. I mean, we've got bad history with science officers and stuff like that. But and androids and whatnot. But I thought that it kind of added some creep factor to it. I really liked it. I know I immediately went, oh shit. Especially because he was ripped in half, like he was in the first one, he was all decimated and whatnot. When they beat him up, and then of course what happened to Bishop at the end of Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't mind it, and I guess I understand why people might, because it's playing into your own stuff too much, like I just said with the engineer baby. But I just thought it was cool. So I guess it's one of those things that I can understand why people would have a problem with, and I won't fault them for that. I just personally thought it was cool. I really liked it.
I don't think it really helped the movie. I don't think it was necessary, and it couldn't have been cheap. And the effect was only slightly effective. So, I mean, if you're making the movie and you're trying to figure out where to put your production dollars, I don't think deep faking Ian Holm was the best use of that money.
Yeah, I mean,
do you think it was a deliberate swerve to name him Rook, by the way? Because, like, as you said, Bishop was a good android.
Yeah.
So Rook, Bishop, the whole chess piece thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't call him Ash. So I mean, that was the, you can't do that. But then to have him be like the same model and whatnot, I really don't mind it. And maybe remember, I'm one of those, when they give you a member berry moment, I tend to like those a lot more than you do. So I think for me, that's kind of what this was.
You are very simple. You're like Andy before he gets the chip.
Hey, man. And we'll definitely get to that because that was one of the highlights of the movie, if not the highlight for me.
His last name is Royd. You know that, right?
Shut up. Shut up, asshole.
Abby normal. Yeah.
I mean, no. There's an episode we could just talk about Young Frankenstein. Did you know that Gene Wilder wrote that movie?
No, I did not. That's incredible.
Yeah, there's a Gene Wilder documentary that I just watched, and actually he wrote it and then took it to Mel Brooks and said, would you ever want to make this? Interesting. I did not know that. But anyway, yeah, I mean, is it
Gene Wilder.
necessary?
Funny motherfucker. Cool.
Yeah, is it necessary? No. But I think tying it back to the original film like that gave this one some gravitas. So I think it was a good callback to use. And
Okay.
again, as obvious as it may have been that he's obviously going to make everything go to shit. Because I mean, you can't just have him be a bad guy, an alien, and then he comes in here. Oh, this because it's not Ash. Has changed his colors. You can't do that. But so it might have been a little obvious how it was going to turn out. But I still thought that it added some needed, gravitas to it again, as I said before. So I dug it. I can see why people might not, but
I wish like his true nature wouldn't have come out quite so early on, because the way the first one goes, and he starts off as a nice guy, and he could be, I think that would have been, because audience members would have been keeping an eye on him anyway because they know the lineage of the movies.
Yeah.
And I think if they had like kept his motivations a little bit more mysterious instead of him being like downright nefarious, that I think would have been a much more entertaining way to go, because it would have kept the audience guessing a little bit more.
Do you really think there would be any guessing going on, though? Do you think it would have been a letdown if you find out that this one's actually a good guy, as opposed to just he's trying to fulfill what Ash was doing in the first, in the first movie?
Well, yes and no. See, I like the idea that maybe, because yeah, he's programmed to follow these orders, but he even says like this thing got way out of hand and wrecked everything. So like, all right, so that. So there's always that possibility that he reconsiders and thinks like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is a bad idea. So I would have liked a little bit more mystery there, because yeah, for him to just be he essentially is Ash. He's just Ash all over again. So like, isn't that kind of like they could have just called him Rehash?
Ash and Rehash. Nice. That's awesome.
But I do want to talk about Andy, though. I think Andy was one of my favorite things of the whole movie. Yeah. And I don't know who that actor is, but holy crap, does he get credit? Like for playing that dual role. Because he was like the perfect simpleton that you kind of you really empathized with, because he was getting picked on and stuff. And then as soon as he gets the chip, you're like, oh no, what happened to Andy?
Yeah. Yeah, that
also,
was
if they ever need to do any like flashback sequences for any characters that Forrest Whitaker played, there's your guy. He's even got that one lazy eyelid too, where I'm like, it's like perfect.
He definitely has the sad face down, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like that was, I mean, yeah, I completely agree that was the standout of the movie. People are saying, the actress that played the main heroine was the standout. I think it's the guy that played Andy personally. It was awesome. Go ahead.
We're doing good so far here, guys.
Let's see. No, not Romulus, damn you. Yeah, I just thought that was, just a standout performance, because you got the guy, David Johnson is the guy's name who played Andy. And then what's the main character's name? Rain?
Yes.
That was Kaylee Spaney. Both awesome. But yeah, that David Johnson, man, that portrayal of Andy, because he starts out like I said, with the sad face and kind of like beaten down, and he knows that the people don't like him, and some people are making fun of him, and especially that one dickhead that gets his comeuppance that I said earlier in the show that I didn't like. He was just all over him. But then when they have to swap out his chip with the chip from the the android on the ship, it was pretty awesome, because all of a sudden he completely changes into this just stoic, single-minded, completely heartless android, just, single-minded in purpose. And it was just a total, like you said, flip of the switch, just a totally different character. And
Now,
then
I'm wondering, so help me out here with the lore. This might be something from Alien Isolation, because I know what do they call them?
Average
Working
Joes.
Average Joes?
Is it Average
Is
Joes or
there
Working
anything
Joes?
there where they have like a chip in their neck or something that determines their programming? Or is that new to the lore?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, remember, I only made it through half of that game because it scared the shit out of me so damn bad.
Well, I remember you bitching about the Average Joes, so I figured you might know a thing or two about them.
Yeah. Alien Isolation. Yeah, Average Joes. Okay, I was right. For a second there, I was like, wait a minute. No, that's the damn team in dodgeball, you dummy. So, like, let's not do that. Yeah, they had some programming thing that was part of them. Yeah. I don't remember what it was. It's been a while since I played that. They were definitely more malicious though than Andy was with the science officer chip, because they were kind of like to keep people out of certain parts of the ship and whatnot, so they got violent and whatnot. But yeah, the portrayal of Andy, itself was awesome. But I think it was like I think it added, that relationship and the way it was handled by the actor and actress, I think added something that the other movies didn't have. Even the ones with Sigourney Weaver, even the ones with Ripley in it, I don't think there was that character where, I mean, you could say Newt, I think. I mean, if you want to go back to Newt, maybe that would be the only the only relationship between characters in the whole series, saga, franchise, whatever you want to call it, that is equal to the whole Andy and Rain thing in Romulus, because you actually gave a shit about them. You felt a connection there. You felt their connection, like it actually meant something in the story.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job with that. Like, they took time building the characters up. The whole structure felt very like true to form for the franchise, but also not rehashed. Like, I like seeing the planet first and like seeing them get like screwed over. It really reminded me of that scene in Andor, right, where he's getting sentenced, and they're like, "Yeah, we're just tacking on extra time." Like, fuck you, you're not even a person.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Okay, so it's more into that whole Wayland Yutani thing and indentured service kind of thing." And I like that they, it gave them a good reason to go up there in the first place.
Yeah, that was the thing I think about this one, that it had more than any of the other films. That there was a certain human center to it, that none of the other movies, at least to me, really had. Pretty much like a lot of them were just, even, like I say, like in the first movie, like, Ripley's, crew members, they were really just kind of, it's not like she was like overly tight with any of them. They were, even, the two like mechanic guys were always talking about their, just wanting to get their money. So it was like, they're just conscripts basically, like out on a space job or whatever.
Right.
And so, you had that going on. And in Aliens, you had Newt, so that's the only thing you could really compare it to. But even that, and the rest was just,
Mostly.
yeah, mostly, yeah. It was just the Marines trying to survive with her, and then really in the movies afterwards, there weren't any relationships you really gave a shit about, especially in a few of them. It was just so obvious. It was just all about, it's just a meat factory for the aliens to chomp on,
Right.
So, but there wasn't really even the story itself, like you just made a great point, dude, where you talked about, the fact that, she's thinking she's getting out of her indentured servitude to Wayland Yutani. So she's like, all right, I'm up. And they're like, nah, 6 more years or however long it was. She's like, what?
Yeah.
Because they just don't give a shit. And so you kind of felt like, her, her plight was so dire, and all the other, people that she was friends with, that she was going up to the, the derelict space station with, they were just behind the 8 ball, and it was like you kind of felt for him. It added something that the other movies did not have, which I thought was pretty cool. So
yeah, it made sense for them to take the risk because they knew they were otherwise just basically going to die on that planet. They were never getting out.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought
when circumstances go that bad, you got to. In most horror movies, you just think like, well, they're just making stupid decisions. And that's in a lot of the other Alien movies too, where like stuff starts to go sideways and you're like, just bug the hell out. Like, what are you doing? And then this one, it was like, well, it's still preferable to at least give it a shot, because heading back, there's nothing there for us.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it was done really well, even to the point where, you establish pretty quick, like how close Andy and Rain are. And then when they're, in the first, moments on the ship, as they start digging into, like, saying plot points aloud and stuff, the planet that they're trying to get to, to basically be free, she can't take Andy. So she went up there knowing that she basically have to fuck Andy over to be free. And it's like, when you find out, you're like, what the hell is that? And then, and I thought that was kind of cool how they played that out for the rest of the movie. Like at the end, she's like, yeah, you're coming with me anyway. Like, he's like, but I thought I couldn't go. She's like, we'll deal with it. But because I kept thinking throughout the course of the movie, as Andy's helping her and, with her, I'm going, but she's totally ditching his ass. Like,
did you think he was going to turn at some point and be like, screw you, you're going to leave me for dead, so I'm leaving you for dead?
You know what? I be completely honest, I kind of hoped that was going to happen. I kind of thought what would have been a really cool plot twist would be to have Andy be the one to survive and be like, yeah, screw you. You were going to screw me over. So now go fuck yourself. And, and she dies like it's a total red herring. And, it's Andy that's actually the survivor and all this kind of stuff. Like, I thought that would have been cool. So, like Graham was saying up in the chat, like he just wanted kind of a fresh twist on stuff. I thought that would have been a fresh twist on it. It would have been very dark and very bleak. But as I've said on the show many times about certain things, I love when things like that happen. Like the ending to The Mist is like maybe my all-time favorite movie ending ever. So if they were going to do that, I thought that would be great.
Oh, you mean like how one of my favorite twist endings in an otherwise bad movie is Terminator 3? How like
she just gets
in the bunker, and all it is to keep him safe from the nukes, not to actually prevent Judgment Day.
Yeah, that was awesome. Yes, I agree with you on that as well.
Like, no, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool as well. Yeah, I was a big fan of that. I was like, oh shit, they didn't fix anything. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was an awesome twist. The whole Andy dynamic I thought was really interesting, because they played against the expectation. You had the bad robot in Rook, so you're like, well, we know androids are usually shit in this universe. Like they always turn, they're always bad, and then it come to find out that he wasn't the whole time. Even when he had the chip in him, he was still like, they still found a way for him to justify his actions in protecting her as aligning with the company directives that he had just been programmed with,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in general, like, I think in terms of plot, this might have done the best job of any Alien movie of making sense, with the exception of the fucking engineer hybrid at the end.
Yeah, that really did kind of piss on the parade a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, like it was a good fake out because I had forgotten that was a thing, that every Alien movie has the false finish. So I was like, oh, that was a great friggin' movie. We're done with that now. And it's like, nope, no, you're not. Like,
yeah,
if you had just stopped just one moment before.
Kale says, not to mention that the falling nukes were strangely beautiful visually. Yeah. The thing, I knew there was a false ending because, like you said, they always have that. So, okay. I didn't expect the engineer baby. I thought it was a human mix thing. Whatever. I was wrong. Uh, but I was kind of surprised because they show for a brief blip on the screen, the rat like turning into an alien, basically like exploding or whatever the hell it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't thinking that this woman was going to give birth to something. I thought it was going to I was like, okay, well, so is it going to be like, how are they going to handle this with the kid? Like, is she going to turn into this alien thing? And then the kid does something, or does it kill like, what, how's this? I didn't think it was going to do that.
Yeah, by the way, good fucking Lord, how big was that thing that she squeezed out? I mean, I literally, I thought that it was going to rip her in two. I thought that was going to be the birth. It was just going to be that vicious.
I was hoping that was what was going to happen. When I kind of realized what was,
it should have been what happened.
well, we already said it was either Yao Ming or a Shaq baby or whatever the hell it was. Like, yeah, I was kind of hoping that would happen. I wanted to see something absolutely just disgustingly brutal. I thought that would be awesome. Like, I mean, if you're gonna show like a chest burster, I don't think it's wrong to show someone get ripped in half birthing a gigantic sumbitch like that.
I mean, after they had the birthing scene in Prometheus, I mean,
yeah,
humans birthing alien somethings never goes nicely.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't. This universe, there's like almost never a happy ending for anybody. So
yeah,
let's just lean into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was hoping for something. I mean, it was gross. Don't get me wrong, but I really thought they could have had something really gnarly. That's just me. But I mean, back to your point about this being the movie that where it made the most sense. I think the first two made sense. But then after that, I think you kind of run out of ideas. So I think, the whole thing of aliens is simple enough. It's an original idea. It's like, oh, we found this alien. It destroys the ship. Okay, she blows it out the airlock, the end. Okay. With the second one, they're like, oh, well, we're going to go find out why these people that were around all these aliens aren't talking to us anymore. Oh, we found a ton of aliens because they killed all the colonists. Okay, we got to get the F out of here. Okay, we get the F out of here. Okay, the end. Like, okay. After that, you kind of screw the pooch. So I would say outside of the first, again, dude, this one just slots in with the first two so well on so many levels. And so I think even for the things that don't make sense, I can't really fault it too much because I didn't expect it to do that. I mean, I really was expecting just to go see some more chest bursters and face huggers and acid blood and go home and be like, all right, that was a new Alien movie. Cool. Instead, I got a lot more than that.
Okay. So remember we were talking when the movie came out, because I saw it before you by a couple of days. Yeah. And you were asking me even before I went in there, I gave you my prediction, which was, we're going to see everybody, but basically one, maybe two people die, and it's going to be really, really gross and bloody. And that's exactly what we got, right? Like,
yeah.
So when I tried to sum it up for you, and I said, I think you're going to love this movie. I think you're going to get exactly what you went in there for. How accurate was I with that?
I think 100%.
Because knowing that's what you say, like, you know what you want to go into a certain type of movie to see. It's like seeing one of your favorite bands. You're like, I want to hear these songs. I don't deviate from what's working. So yeah, we know what we go to see alien movies for. And I think they delivered on that in enough ways that we're both familiar, but also new. So do you feel like it was, well, you talked about it, like third in the hierarchy. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, that's where I would put it.
Yeah, I think I would too, actually. Which, is really high praise if you think about how well regarded the first two movies are.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it's an easy ranking too, because if you think about it, like, okay, would you rather see, or did you prefer Alien versus Predator 2 or Romulus? Alien versus Predator, the first one, or Romulus.
Durr.
Alien 3 or Romulus. I mean, dude, look, Alien 3 behind. First of all, Alien 3 was behind the 8 ball from like the first 10 minutes of the movie or whatever because they killed a dog. Okay, as soon as you kill a dog, I'm out. Like, fuck your movie. Like, just stop it. Like, I haven't seen the John Wick movies yet, but I will because he specifically goes on a revenge kick because they killed his dog. I will accept that because that's what I would do.
Mhm.
Alien Resurrection. Would you rather watch that or Romulus?
Again,
I mean,
Durr.
yeah.
And I actually
then
like
you've got-
Resurrection, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I mean, it's okay. That room of all the failed mutants or mutations of Ripley and the alien is just one of the most chilling goddamn things ever. They
Oh,
did a
God, yeah.
phenomenal job on that. Especially because a couple of them are the ones alive or whatever. It's like, oh my God. But
Mhm.
and then you've got Prometheus and Covenant. I mean, Covenant goes without saying it's good, but it's forgettable. And Prometheus, I would say that would be number 4 for me, probably. So
Prometheus,
yeah.
man, if we could just sidetrack on Prometheus for a second, because I literally just watched that one. That one, I think, is a tale of two movies. I, for one, actually love the beginning. People complain that it starts too slowly.
Okay.
I think it's great. I would love so much more of them just wandering around the alien spaceship and just weird stuff happening at a really slow pace. I feel like it builds the menace so well. And then when stuff starts going sideways, you're like, dude, bug the hell out. Like this hard left turn of like, nah, we're gonna keep going. I'm like, why? That makes like no sense.
Well, I don't think I would like that because you have to think about the rewatchability. All right, Chastity's with me. I knew she would be. Chastity says, "Yep, if an animal dies, I'm out." Yep, that's me.
Does
I think
it matter which animal dies? Because in the assembly cut of Alien 3, a different animal dies.
What animal?
They tow the ship back to the facility with an ox, and an ox is what dies.
Oh, that's right. Oh yeah, see Chastity, there's a website called doesthedogdie.com and it will tell you. It says trigger warnings for movies, TVs, books, video games, and more. So yeah, if you want to know, there it is. John Phillips says John must hate John Carpenter's The Thing. Actually, John, I love that movie, but I love the cheesy 80s special effects. I love those like early 80s movies where the special effects you can kind of it looks bad, but it's so bad it's good almost. So I actually loved it. So that was I thought that was cool.
You know what's really like one of the absolute worst? The Amityville Horror, because the only thing in the movie is the dog.
Yes, yeah, that was fucked. That I hated. I totally forgot your question. I got so sidetracked on them killing a dog in Alien 3.
Well, I asked you, does it matter which animal dies? Like if it's an ox instead of a dog, is that better?
Yeah, I don't want to see pets die. I'm used to seeing other. I mean, in zombie movies, you see dead cows and pigs and shit all the time. Like whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, but you had a question about. We were talking about something with the Alien movie before I got all sidetracked. I don't remember what the hell it was. The slow build. You were talking about how you would have liked to see
how that takes its
well,
time at the beginning. I thought that was another thing where I thought that like the thing I liked about Prometheus was that it presented all this weird stuff that was very clearly alien adjacent, but it wasn't just overtly alien stuff. And then at the end, they're just like, well, here's all the engineers, and here's you remember this and remember this, remember this. I'm like, God damn it, like it was creepy enough to just poke around stuff that you're like, this is clearly related to it, but they're not going to tell us how. And that's just going to be more imagination fuel. But no, they just spoon feed you all this crap, and you're like, well, now it's not nearly as interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't know. In terms of the whole slow build thing, I think that's a slippery slope. Because you have to think about
this movie doesn't do that. This movie like throws them right into a room with facehuggers, and then they're on the run from that point on.
See, I think there's enough build in this though, dude. You have to remember that when you go back to rewatch a movie, when you know what happens, the intro that felt like it was like 30 to 45 minutes in the theater, you all of a sudden, you realize that it's only like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So if you're going to try and build something for like an hour, it can get really lengthy and it kind of ruins the rewatchability. Like for example, Hostel, like the first
Mhm.
time you watch it, you're like, oh, you hear this is such a gross movie. You're like, you're on the edge of your seat waiting. So when it takes forever for something to happen, you're like, cool. But I've tried to rewatch that movie and I just fast forward. I'm like, I get it. You're on a backpacking trip in Europe with these two chicks that are just like baiting you to get to the damn rich people place to get carved up. Like, God damn it. Like I fast forward half the movie. Same thing. And not that this should be a surprise. It's the same director, but there's a movie that Eli Roth made called Green Hell. And it's like a, kind of like a remake of those horrific cannibal movies from the late 70s, early 80s. And that was the same thing. Even in the theater when I went to see it, I was like, will you start eating people? Can you please start chopping these bastards up? Seriously? And then finally their plane crashes and there's blood everywhere. You're like, all right, here we go. And so then you can get to it, but it just takes too damn long. So I understand what you're talking about from a world building standpoint, but I don't think you can do that.
So you don't think the payoff is, you don't think the build is part of the payoff? Like if they had taken their time, if they didn't take their time getting there, it wouldn't diminish the impact.
No, it's especially in this movie because we already know what the hell we're getting. It'd be like it'd be like walking into, a Star Wars movie, and they just sit there talking about, it's like a bunch of people hanging out for like 40 minutes, and then all of a sudden you see a lightsaber in here. Oh, may the force be with you. You're like, well, get to the goddamn point. I know what I'm here for. So
Actually, that kind of does happen.
don't.
No, I'm serious. Like Luke Skywalker meeting Obi-Wan happens a long time into the movie.
Okay, but that's the very first movie. That's what I'm saying. You can get away with that when you don't know what you're there to see. But when you know what, when you know what you're there to see, like let's get to the point. It's not. I've been on the journey. Now I just want to see more of the cool shit. So I don't think So this one doing that, but I still thought this one had like a pretty cool build. Because it was, they were establishing the characters, and then you get, they have to do the whole, fly into space thing, and there was, the relationship between Andy and Rain was pretty well on its way. All right. So Kale's got a question about the whole dog dying thing, and Chastity says, "I've turned off movies that people want me to see because an animal dies, not just dogs. I know there'll be other animal deaths, Chastity, but if it's like pets, no." Just don't show me that. It's unnecessary.
Right.
Kale says, is it okay if the credits say when the dog passed away peacefully? Like Megan Levy that I watched the other day, it's like everything went well for the dog and he lived 3 more years after this till he went peacefully into sleep at the age of 13. Yes, that's fine. I just don't show me some horrible violent dog death. Like kill a person. Just, kill another person. Go. The person probably did something shitty at some point in their life. They have skeletons in their class that they probably deserved it, whatever. Dogs and pets are just awesome to us. So leave the damn pets alone. Chastity Crawley. I want all dogs to live forever. Yeah, that's me too. John Phillips, Old Yeller. I've actually never seen it. But yeah, I've heard that I shouldn't. So,
no, you shouldn't.
So yeah. There's Kale. Old Yeller was undeserved.
Although you managed to make it through Marley and Me, so it's not as bad as that.
Well, because I'd read the book, and I knew that was a real story. That was a true story. It wasn't just somebody like, you know what? I'm gonna write this story where the dog dies. Like that's not very nice. But
By the way, for anyone who's confused on the building I'm doing right now, these stupid little fang pieces are such a pain in the ass to put together if you don't pre-assemble them. So I'm just doing them ahead of time, and I'll attach them when they're all pre-assembled.
There we go. Look at that. Lego strategy is involved tonight.
Yeah. Well, if anyone saw the thumbnail I posted earlier today on socials, I've built this once before just to make sure that one, all the pieces were there, and two, I could like sort it because I thought it was going to be just a sea of black pieces, and look at this. It's a sea of black pieces. So
yeah.
Without pre-sorting, this would have been a complete nightmare. This would have been like a 6-hour build, and everyone would be bored and annoyed. So
No, it
just trying to keep
looks
it,
great, man.
a little bit more upbeat than that.
Chastity. She says, I threw the book Marley and Me. Literally threw it across the room. When I actually read that, Chastity, like when it first came out, like before anybody knew what it was, and it was this big cultural phenomenon. Like I worked across the street from a mall, and I'd gone over to the mall on my lunch just to kill time, and I went to the bookstore and I saw a big display of it up front, and I was like, oh, that looks like something I'd be into. So I bought it and I read it, and I got to the part where he passed away, and I'm crying. Like I love books and I have an active imagination, but I don't cry over books and stuff. That had me going. Well, my dog at the time, his name was Chewy, and I got to the part where Marley passes, and then the guy starts talking about how he wrote, his newspaper column about Marley, and told the whole story and got this huge response from his readership. And he listed some of the letters he received. And just as I'd calmed down from Marley passing away, one of the letters is like, yeah, I really feel if you lost, I lost my boy Chewy a couple months ago, and I went, oh, Chewy. And I just lost my shit, man. Because it was, it's named after my dog. I was like, God damn it. So I totally lost my shit. But so that's what I always remember about Marley and Me. And then the other one is I when it came out in theaters, when they put the movie out, I went with a girl I'd been on 2 dates with. And I was full on like Death in the Family sobbing in the theater, like snotting into Kleenex and everything. Like, and I knew it wasn't manly at all, but how could you not? Like I knew it was coming, but I was just sobbing, man. And I know this chick was so turned off, and needless to say, we didn't go out again after that. But yeah, those are, yeah.
That movie was straight up unfair because similar story, except I was living in Florida at the time, and I was up here in Cleveland for the holidays, and had not brought my dog with me. That was Jake.
Oh no. Oh yeah.
And yeah, I was just like sitting there in the theater sobbing, like, I miss my dog. I want to talk to Jake.
Right. We always joke around here that whenever we're watching animal programs, like we get the dogs over, like, you guys better come over here because you're gonna get all the lovin's.
Mm-hmm.
Kale brings up a good movie, and then we'll get back on topic. Sorry guys, got a little sidetracked, but Kale says Marley and Me was gut wrenching, and it's worse because the entire film builds you up to that moment, and it's not fair at all. I think Wonder kills the dog as well, and it really didn't need to. Wonder is an awesome movie. If you guys have not heard of it or seen it, it's based on a true story. Go check out Wonder. I think I would agree with Kale about the whole dog thing. I didn't like that. Oh, it's great. Go check it out. It's Wonder, like as in like the Wonder Years or whatever, or Wonder Bread. Excellent movie. It's something that not very many people talk about. But my wife and I love it. So, yeah. So
marketing fail, I guess. I never heard of it.
That's okay. Yeah. So no,
do I need to look it up on the website?
No, because I just told you. So yeah, I think that I think, I don't think this movie, to your previous 2 points, I don't think the slow build, I think they did it enough, again, because we knew it was coming. And number 2, in terms of, another thing you mentioned that, the plot makes the most sense and all that. I think I would agree with that. And I think that's one of the things that makes this movie unique is that it takes something that we already know implicitly and adds to it, but it's not cheesy, as I said earlier in the show, but it actually has a story. There's more to it than just, I mean, not a lot more, granted, but there's more to it than just we're going up in space and the alien's going to find us and kill all but one of us. There's at least something there to give a shit about outside of that. So, I for that reason I thought it was really good. And it's interesting because I've seen it once, and when I left the theater I was like, yeah, okay, it was an alien movie. It was cool. All right. I got my money's worth. It wasn't amazing, but as I've talked about it now on two different shows, the more I think about it, there's a lot more meat on the bone than I kind of realized at first. So I'm interested to go watch it again to kind of see, what sort of things are, I didn't really get into as much with my first viewing because I was just so busy watching all the gore and alien shit, you know?
Okay, yeah, that was going to be my next question for you was like I said, they did actually present a cohesive plot, and as much as it is pared back, in broad strokes, it's just like, okay, they're stuck on the ship and they got to survive. But it does seem like, do you think there's room for a sequel? Like, where would the story go from here?
No, because I think any sequel possibility, it was more about Andy and Rain. I think, to do a sequel to this is just another alien movie. Joseph Friend, checking back in on this killer build. Do you fill in the gaps with sulfuric acid when you're done? Nice.
We could try, yeah. Just subscribe on Patreon. If we get enough Patreon money, I'll do that.
Nice.
That's a
How's
joke
that
because
for a
Justin is one of our Patreon subscribers. So
There we go. Yeah, I don't think there's really room for a sequel. Like with Prometheus, it was, you knew that it was, this is kind of like this is the backstory. This is a multi-movie thing. We're going to explain what happened, this, that, and the other. With this, it stands on its own, and I don't know what else you could do.
yeah, if there's anything that's kind of a bummer about this movie, I think it's exactly that. Like they gave us like our best alien movie since 1986, and there's nowhere to go.
Yeah, but in a way, it's like, I mean, how much more can you get out of this franchise? Again, the only thing they really haven't done is actually show them get the damn thing to Earth. And then do we want to see it running around Earth? I mean,
Well, okay. So the way they were planning on doing a trilogy of what they call the Prometheus trilogy, right? There was supposed to be a third movie that talked about David some more and really brought it up to Alien. I mean, Ridley Scott's still involved with all this stuff. Do you think that they could make a sequel to this and kind of work whatever ideas they were going to do, that third David movie, into a sequel to this? Because I feel like this storyline, these details about the company are separate enough that Aliens does not sufficiently follow up this movie. Aliens is just like, well, we're just going to follow the protagonist of the first movie, not the villain of the first movie. So you got the little Ellen Ripley branch, and now you've got the everything else branch. Do you think that would work?
Not really. I just think that the Prometheus thing has to be before Alien, and so you can't really do that with this. I mean, really, excuse me. The only thing that I think you can really do with the Alien franchise at this point is kind of almost like another prequel type idea, is kind of tell the story of the colony on LV 426, kind of pull a Rogue One where you're like, okay, well, how, Star Wars starts out and says, oh, they got the Death Star plans. Like, and then Rogue One's like, hey, here's how they did that.
Well, buddy, have I got a movie for you then?
A movie for me?
It's called Aliens, the director's cut.
No. I mean,
it shows the colony before it got overrun.
I've watched it. I own it. I know. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't show the colony before it's overrun. It's only like showing the parents out in the desert and crap or whatever.
Yeah, it shows them bringing back the stuff that ends up wrecking it all.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about like a full-on movie, because they on Audible, go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial. They have a bunch of like alien kind of like audio dramas, and one of them is about the colony. It's basically like what the events leading up to Aliens, and it's really, really good. It's really, really good. So I think that's really the only place they can kind of go, because it's really the only uncharted original territory they can get to. Otherwise, it's just, everything there is to know about the aliens pretty much. So it's just putting them in a different place. Like, oh, they finally made it to Earth and now they're weaponizing them. Like, okay. Like, do we really need to see that? I mean,
it's the one thing we haven't seen.
Again, I just think that would be kind of shitty. Just friend. Great plug there, JT. Well, if people want to check it out, they can do it for free, right?
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Yeah. Joe says Prometheus hype. Sorry about that. What the hell's wrong with my voice? Prometheus hype made me want to watch Alien again. Even though it was a prequel, it could be the prequel to Alien we wanted to explain the engineers, which will always be space jockeys in my eyes. Yeah, I was used to calling them space jockeys, and then ever since Prometheus, I'm used to calling them engineers. So, yeah, I mean, do you think there's something original they could do at this point? I really don't. I just think they've gotten everything they can out of it at this point.
Oh, you mean like me and my digital instructions because I didn't film the back of the page? Yeah, so I only got up to 67 on screen shareable, and then we're into something else. So we can switch views now. So sorry, guys. You're going to be staring at paper instructions from here on out. There we go.
Do we have this right? All right, there we go.
Boom.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Audio viewers, we hope you enjoyed that.
Oh, I mean, what's better for an audio viewer than a live Lego build? Come on now.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, do you really think there's anything else they could do? I mean, I think there's nothing else you could do with the Xenomorph. So
this is the interesting thing is like, if you go and like look at comic books, for example, there are so many comics of like Alien versus Predator, which the movie sucked, or just Alien comic books in general. I collected them, when I was in like junior high. There's so much to dig into with the Alien lore, and for some reason, it's just never really worked in a movie, but it works great in a comic book format. I don't know why that is. Like there's the whole, there's a whole comic book run in the 90s called like Alien Genocide, and it's like rival hives that are fighting each other, and of course, stupid humans are getting mixed up in the middle because they're still trying to, harvest aliens for their own biotech, bioweapons division, that kind of stuff. So I mean, it always boils down to humans are dumb and they're going to die because of it, but it's something that we've never seen in the movies, and I wonder if Marvel has prepared us enough now to see comic book stuff on the big screen to that degree. Because the one thing I do know that I want is more Alien movies, and I don't know where they go from here.
Yeah, I think they're almost painted into a corner because of the invincibility of the alien itself. And it's not, I mean, you bring up superheroes. It's in a way, it's not like superhero movies, because with them you can just, oh man, we need another Iron Man movie. Okay, well, let's find another bad guy for him to fight, and there's a whole new adventure. Whereas with the aliens, it's just, well, they decimate everything. They, try and take over their environment. They're like parasitic. And so if they run into people, they kill all the people, and then they lay a shitload of eggs. Okay. So, and I think to try and do something more takes away from what makes the franchise and the Xenomorphs cool and scary. You don't want to take away that darkness and that mystique of, it being in space where, you can't escape. I mean, that's the thing about it. Like,
that's always the trick, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Because if you can get away, like if you're on Earth or something and you've got like, you're on land and you have infinite directions in which to, infinite directions in which to flee. It kind of takes away some of the, oh shit, that you have.
Definitely. Yeah. That's one of the tricks of the whole plot. Like you said, is trying to figure out like, how do you maintain the threat in a plausible way? If you give them a means of escape, then the story writes itself. It's all right. Well, what can we throw in their way before they can escape?
Yeah.
If escape is always an option, then you're just being stupid and you deserve to die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, look what happened. Like they tried to do something original. Granted, it was just fan service out the ass, but they did the whole Alien versus Predator thing, and it was garbage. I mean, it was just pure garbage.
Isn't it incredible, by the way? It seems like that should be an easy movie to write because it should just be a throwdown. and it just sucked.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, they just couldn't figure out, like, why would these critters be fighting? Like, it doesn't really matter, dude. You're overthinking it.
Yeah. Well, and as soon as I heard even the idea was, brought up, I said, that is the shittiest thing I've ever heard. And then when it was a reality, I was like, I am not going anywhere near this.
Yeah, but again, it has a rich history in comics of being successful. So I could totally see why they thought it would work. But then I don't know. It's astounding. We did this whole episode again about franchises worse than you remember. And you're like, how could they just not get this right for so many efforts? Like, this movie, it's a simple formula. It's like, yeah, don't overthink it, stupid. It's really not that difficult.
Well,
You
I
get
mean, but
people who don't know what the hell's going on. You trap them in a something with an alien, and then you watch them try to not die. It's
Okay,
really simple.
okay, but you just nailed it right there. What else are you going to do past that? You can't just do that every movie. It's going to be the same damn movie over and over again. At that point, it becomes like, like Saw, but not as cool. Like, the whole thing of Saw, you say, well, how can they keep making these goddamn movies? All it is this guy like, I want to play a game, and then people getting carved up in weird ways. Well, that's become the whole thing. Just people getting absolutely ripped apart in the weirdest ways you could possibly think of. With the xenomorph, the only thing they could do is they've got acid for blood, and their little mouth, the little penis mouth is going to come out of the big mouth and kill you. Like, okay, so I mean, it's not like you're gonna have like original deaths or something. And if you start adding more shit to it, like outside of face huggers and all this other stuff, then you dilute it and it becomes dumb. So there's really not much more to do with it, unfortunately. And
True. But as we're sitting here saying this, though, if they announce another Alien movie, are you going?
hell yeah, I'm going. Because I like the franchise enough. Now, I will go into it the way I went into this one, expecting it to be pretty crappy, and just coming out going, yeah, I spent $15 to watch, some gory shit and acid blood. Okay, well, cool. All right, that's fine.
Do you feel like that might be part of why this one's being so well received? It's our standards have been so sufficiently lowered at this point that it's like, how can you go wrong?
I mean, that's a good sentiment, I think, but I do think that this is a quality movie. And it does that rarest of things with sequels, and especially to your point earlier, saying a sequel, a good sequel that came out like, almost 40 years after the last good one. It does that rare thing where, it expands upon the lore without going too far into fan service.
Mhm.
It's not cheesy. It tells, a somewhat original story in an environment where it's hard to do that, and it's got characters you actually give a shit about. I mean, it's, in a way, if you think about, I mean, it's not nearly as good as the movie I'm about to mention, but if you think about it, I mean, that's what was so awesome about Top Gun 2 was that, you're getting fighter jets, you're getting Maverick, and it was a one-off movie. It was, and there was so much emotion to that. I mean, I mean, yeah. Did we all love it because of the humor and the cool factor of, hey man, we're fighter jet pilots and all that kind of crap? Yeah, of course.
Mhm.
But it was such a goddamn well done movie. It had all the action points that you wanted, and the friendship between Maverick and Goose, and it had all these great things. And so there's no way you can get close to it. And it was, so impossible to even think about a sequel. And yet they did it, and they pulled it off in phenomenal fashion because of all the reasons I just mentioned about this one. It told a great story. It expanded upon, the original lore that we had really enjoyed. You actually gave a crap about the characters that you were dealing with. I mean, it just had all the elements of a great sequel, and it was excellent for that reason. I think this one kind of touches on that. So, that being said, I don't think they can do much more with it. I really cannot think of anything else they could do with it. And I've tried because, like you, I'll go see more Alien movies. But like, I mean, what else? What else is going to happen?
I think the parts that you're resonating with are still possible. It's also why we are not screenwriters. Because I heard you say over and over again about how the characters are what draw you in. So if they can find compelling characters, then you've got the bones of a story. As much as we love the aliens and them just goring the hell out of people, if we didn't care about the people who were getting gored, then it wouldn't really matter that much.
Well, no, I completely agree with that.
I think that's where this franchise has always, gone afoul, is like Alien 3. Part of what people crap on is like, you don't care about any of those people. So when they die, you're like, whatever. It's no big deal.
That's what it was funny. I was saying that on Mock's show, on Mocktails on Monday, was that they really screwed that one up because first of all, the characters, you don't give a shit about them, but second of all, they're all criminals. So it's like, why the fuck you? Yeah, like why the fuck are you gonna care?
Like wait a minute, which bald British guy just got murdered? I'm not following.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, those are just not likable characters, and it's yeah. You got to have something, and that's what the best of these movies has done. You got to have something outside of the alien to give a shit about.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't the secret sauce of the franchise from the start. It was Sigourney Weaver and Ripley.
Yeah,
like that's I think why people hate 3 so much, is they thought that it was just like a shitty direction for the character. Whereas, I mean, personally, I didn't mind that at all. Actually, I didn't think what they did with her character was a problem with that one. I think it had, other issues plaguing it. But based on that and the fact that we do like the characters that they've set up in this movie, I feel like you could find some way to write a story where they face each other again. Maybe they get to the next planet and, oh shit, there's aliens on it,
Yeah, but then where do you go from there?
I don't know. Let's get that movie first and then worry about
it. Right.
But you are right though. Like there's this compulsion. I think one thing we just have to brace ourselves for is that based on the success of this movie, we're absolutely getting a sequel. They finally figured out how to write a successful alien movie. They're not just going to one and done it.
Maybe. I mean, sometimes they do leave this stuff alone. I mean,
that's just not the studio system that we live in. But
all right, so Florida Fish Ori.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for tuning in. Says nothing wrong with Alien 3. It was a very good alien movie. I am going to completely disagree with you, and I think most people would as well, unfortunately.
But I would like to hear more. Like, what makes a very good alien movie that you think Alien 3 hit the mark?
Yeah, please expound on that, because I know one of my good buddies actually is a huge Alien fan, and that is to him by far the weakest of the entire franchise. And I can't even say that it's the weakest solely because it comes on the back of Alien and Aliens. I mean, I just think all around it just misses the mark. It's I mean it's got the creep factor, I guess because it's in that prison, so it kind of takes it out of the space environment in a way. So
still trapped.
Yeah, but I mean, oh, look at that! You're the first time in the whole build you're using the tool, the remover tool.
Yeah, I got that backwards.
All right, well there you go. Yeah, I mean it's got the creep factor because of that, and that changes it up a little bit. But I just, man, I know when I saw that in the theater, I left and I was like, yeah, that's not nearly as good as the other ones. But again, at that point where we kind of in that mode of, well, we've seen this before. What more can you do?
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows? Yeah, I mean, while we wait for Florida Fish to give us his reasoning on why he enjoys Alien 3, which would be awesome. Always good to have people provide us with conversation topics. Yeah, I hate to say that you're right because I don't want it to happen, but I think you're probably right that they'll try to like milk a sequel out of this thing. I just don't see how. I really don't. I mean, it's again, you've got Andy and Rain. So I mean, what would they do? Just have it kind of be like a rehash of Ripley in Aliens, where somehow they
Basically.
encounter people that are trying to mess with the aliens somehow. And they're like, no, don't. Those things will rip you apart. They suck.
And then, of course, they don't get listened to and then get proven right.
Yeah, exactly. See, I feel like
I warned you, didn't I?
oh, it's just a harmless
Oh,
little
no, it's just a
xenomorph.
little bunny.
It's just a harmless little face hugger. But I feel like that's like $1 million idea. If you could somehow figure out a good story that actually makes sense in a sequel format for something like this, I mean, I think it would be a moneymaker. There's just nowhere else to go. There just isn't. I mean, again, I've tried to because I really want it to happen, and I haven't come up with a damn thing. So,
Man, you're striking out all over the place here.
are you having a hard time? What are you doing?
There we go.
You got all the way to the end, and
I'll tell you what, man. I mean, you've seen these instructions all night. They're not exactly the clearest.
yeah, true.
They're kind of crammed in, and so just getting some alignments wrong until I don't know. They tend to like flip things around, and then I'm not like looking at it from the right angle. But hey, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay.
It's cool.
Now, Florida Fish, you can't turn the question around on us. That's not fair. He says, let me ask you, what did it do wrong? It didn't give you what you wanted because it kills off Newton Hicks. It strips you of what you wanted, enforces how nasty the alien contagion is. Movie has pacing, expands upon the alien, also atmosphere. All right, so expands upon the alien, meaning the whole dog thing, like it kind of took after its host. Okay, I'll give you that. I could see that. To me, I'll be honest. That had to be explained to me because when I watched the movie the first several times, I just thought it was a normal alien. I just figured they could run on the walls and shit like that. They were like athletic, because you never really saw them getting around.
I think they did that in Aliens, didn't they?
Yeah, but it was kind of like slower. So, to me, I just assumed that was something they could do because I mean, let's face it, we were told all the time that they get around in the ducts. So it's like, okay, well, I figured that's something that they could do. It didn't give me what I wanted because it kills off Newt and Hicks. I didn't mind that. I mean, you got to kind of assume that those sorts of things would happen. So that never really bothered me. I thought there was really not really a great way to handle that, Florida, because if you think about it, like if you show them on screen and then they get wiped out within seconds, it would for the first in that movie, then it kind of like defeats how badass they were to get out of the predicament they were in the previous movie. So to just kill them off the way that they were killed off, I can see that. It strips me of what I wanted. I just wanted a cool alien movie, and I think what it was for me, Florida, was that it just started getting. It was just kind of like it was a rehash. It was too much of a, I've already seen this type of vibe. And, as we were mentioning earlier, the characters weren't particularly likable. I didn't really give a shit about them. And in an alien movie, they're not the focus. I get that. But I think you have to have some sort of stakes to say like, well, oh man, I don't want that person to die, or, oh man, like I hope that person, makes it through to the end and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that. It was, the characters themselves, but again, also, as I mentioned earlier, like they're criminals too. So it'd be like setting a movie, in a prison with a whole bunch of murderers who are pieces of shit, and you're like, oh man, I feel for them. So, So yeah, I just it just didn't do it for me. I was just kind of like, "Eh."
See, and
um,
I don't know what they could have done with Hicks and Newt in that movie, but to off them in the credits, it's just literally saying like, you know what, screw the last movie. That
well,
doesn't even matter. Like
but
we're just getting rid of them.
see, I think there's only two things that you could do, and I'll see if Florida agrees
Although I
with me
will
on
say
this.
the autopsy scene was pretty affecting.
Yes, yes, completely. Um, you know, I think there was only two things that you could have done there: handle it exactly as they did, or have Newt and Hicks be the protagonists again and last most of the movie, if not all of the movie again, or at least one of them.
I think that could have
And
worked actually.
well, I think it could too. The reason I bring it up, and again, this is probably not the best example because it's a this is a franchise where everything basically went to shit after the third movie. But the fourth Nightmare on Elm Street movie, uh, Dream Master, I think it's called. Yeah, Dream Master and Dream Child, I think was the fifth one. In any case, the fourth Nightmare on Elm Street, the characters that survived at the end of the third Nightmare on Elm Street, they killed them off basically within like the first 5-10 minutes of the next movie. And it just completely cheapened them. Because you're going, well, wait a minute. If they're so badass they beat Freddy, now all of a sudden they're just it's kind of like in Revenge of the Sith, our one complaint is when, the Jedi, go to apprehend Palpatine and three of them
Yeah.
croak within like 4 seconds. It's like, well,
Right.
how fucking worthless are you? So I think just having Newt and Hicks in that third movie for like a minute would have sucked for that reason. So either you do what they did, and off them in the credits, or you have them again be a major part of that story. Honestly, I think that would have made the movie better. So Florida, I mean, you're asking me like, what did it do wrong? I actually think it would have been a better idea to have Newt and Hicks stick around with Ripley. I think that would have made it a better movie. And because AJ, let's face it, that speaks to what we were talking about earlier about having characters that you give a shit about.
Mhm.
You would have had them there, and you'd have been going, okay, well, like I care about these people. Like then I think when you juxtapose them against like the criminals and the dirtbags that were in the prison, then it's okay to have them just be cannon fodder and you not caring. Then they're just these like grimy bastards. You're like, okay, like if you die, cool.
God, yeah, that's a hard movie to make though, because think about that. If you've got like Newt, for example, in this all male penal colony, like holy crap.
I don't like where you're going with that.
Well, that's exactly the point. Like it was already rough enough. There was the attempted rape scene already. And at least that's Ripley. And you're like, okay, that's a grown woman
Yeah.
who can handle herself. But good God. I mean, they even said like Charles S. Dutton's character in that movie was a murderer and a rapist of children, I think. I think he actually said he's a child rapist. So do we really want to see Newt there?
What was his name in that movie? Charles S. Dutton, Alien 3 character name. What is with my Leonard Dillon. Okay. Yeah. I forgot that was what his crimes were. Yeah, that might not have worked so well.
Or was it women? I think it was just women. I don't think he said children. That's a bridge too far. Like we know that the Alien franchise is full of like piece of shit characters, but to say like, yeah, we got a child rapist in here, like, whoa. Okay, that's a little much, guy.
Yeah.
Especially because we have to end up like cheering for him towards the end there.
Yeah.
Like, yay, you're redeemed, rapist.
Florida says, what did y'all think of Alien Romy? Are we talking Romy? Like, are we talking Romulus? If that's what you're referring to, we actually talked most of the show about it. It's good. It's the third best Alien movie.
I'll say, yeah. Quick recap on that. Yeah, I think it was great. Now, here's the other thing about being a tweenquel. if you're gonna go and watch like the Alien franchise, are you gonna watch it like Alien, Alien Romulus, Aliens, and so on and so on and so on? Or is this just like an entertaining tangent to you?
It makes me want to watch the other ones again. I actually haven't watched.
Praise for the movie.
Yeah, I haven't watched Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection in quite a while. I'll be honest. So it makes me want to go watch those again and kind of do the comparison, which is
Well,
going to be interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's going to be interesting for me because I do like this one so much. So I'm wondering what the Ripley effect is going to have. Like, am I going to then go? Am I going to go back and watch the third and the fourth ones and go, oh, maybe I do like these better than Romulus because Ripley's such a strong character, or is it because she's just a different Ripley? I think a bastardized version of Ripley is a good way to phrase it, at least for me. In 3 and 4, is it not going to matter? I mean, where do you stand? Because you did rewatch it. So what? How did you look into it?
All right, okay, so I'm gonna give my hot take of the episode here.
Okay.
I think that as the quality of the movies declines, I think the quality of Ripley's character improves.
How so?
I think she's just there in the first one. Like she's not really fleshed out in any way, shape, or form. I wasn't even sure what her job on the ship was until she had a little like squabble with Ash, being like, well, I'm the science officer, and in fact, I can't even remember what her job title was, but yeah, she's not really the focus. She only ends up the focus because she's the only one left alive.
She's the HVAC specialist. She works on the air conditioning.
she's I don't know, maybe she's like finances or something.
She's the accountant. Yeah. Human resources and accounting. That's why they're bitching about pay to her.
And she's like, you'll get your shares. Like, okay. Thank you, Megan, in accounting.
Yeah. Meanwhile, here's the company newsletter.
But yeah, I don't know what her job was on the Nostromo at all. But that's the point. It didn't really matter. Like, you weren't really focused on her. You didn't know that it was her story. It was more the aliens' story. But what a cool little piece this is, huh?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, especially for an alien. That just works out awesome.
John Phillips, thank you very much. He says warrant officer.
Okay, so she makes sure that cherry pie gets played every once in a while.
Well played, man.
Seriously, what's a warrant officer? I don't even know.
It's Ripley. Duh. Remember when you just said earlier that things, if you explain them too much, it's like you shouldn't do that? She's a warrant officer, damn it. That's all you need to know.
What's a warrant officer? Hey, we don't need your whole backstory, okay? Just
exactly. And she gets more important as the movies go on. I think that's interesting though, that you say that, you know, her character gets better as the quality of the movies declines. Because I don't know how.
So she's the focus of the second one because she's the survivor of the first one. So she's the only one who's clued into the shitstorm that they're going into. By the third one, you're like, okay, her entire life has been taken over by her encounter with this species.
Yeah.
So like it builds and it builds, and that makes more sense. So as much as people don't like the third one, at least like you understand at this point, you're like, good God, can this woman ever catch a break? Like she's lucky to escape the first time. She throws herself back in on the second time, and then again barely escapes. And then finally it's like, Christ. Now she's got one inside her in the third one. So
right.
By the fourth one, and the fact she's a clone, and she's like, yeah, I know all about these. This is by far not the first time I've dealt with this. I actually kind of like that part. I thought that was one of the highlights of Alien Resurrection, was her whole like, I don't give a shit attitude. Plus I'm kind of creepy now too, because I'm not entirely human.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Okay. Like I say, I've got to go back and rewatch those because I gotta kind of see, you know, how it looks, because I remember feeling like almost like the opposite of you. Like I almost felt like her character was a little bit watered down, because I was
an apologist for any of the movies. It's going to be Alien Resurrection, actually. People shit on
Okay.
that one hard, and I'm like, I think there's some cool stuff in there. Plus, there's a couple of classic lines too. Like, I know everybody loves the "get away from her, you bitch," but I mean, I love the banter between the pirate crew where the dude in the wheelchair, after they find out Winona Ryder's an android, and Ron Perlman's like, can't believe I almost fucked it. He's like, yeah, like you never fucked a robot.
I forgot about that. See, see what's going to be cool with those two movies for me is it's going to be almost like coming at them from a completely fresh perspective because it's been so long since I watched them. So
Mhm.
I think that's going to be fun. Kind of like, checking out, these things with a fresh set of eyes, especially having so many more movies. Like I mean, to be honest, I haven't watched them since, Prometheus and Covenant came out and this one. So it's been, man, so many years. So it'll be interesting to have that extra context.
I would be
Yep.
curious to know. I mean, of course, Disney Plus is never going to share these numbers, but I wonder exactly how many downloads and views are getting or Hulu's getting for all the previous installments in the franchise. Because that's,
Are these
I mean, one, I
these
had to refresh my memory like you, but also like I liked this movie so much, I wanted to go back and watch the other ones. Then
these are on Disney Plus?
they're on Hulu actually. Sorry.
Oh, Hulu. I was gonna say. I was like,
In
holy
the
crap.
US. Now, for like Kale, for example, or anybody international, it might be Disney Plus because this Disney Plus kind of gets like everything. This almost sounds like we're segueing into a NordVPN ad, but we're not. But yeah, Hulu doesn't really exist outside the US. Disney Plus just gets everything.
Okay. All right, here we go. Florida Fish, he says, my least favorite is Alien Covenant. I hate that movie. Oh, and John Phillips, real quick. John Phillips says, if I remember correctly, she was head of security or protocol. I think that kind of jogs my memory, John. I think you're right there. Because she was the one talking about like don't let him back on the ship when the face hugger was attached to him and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Ash let him in. I think
Yeah.
that's another trope that goes unspoken in these movies is there's always one smart person who goes, no, we're not letting him back on the ship. And someone else goes, but they've got this thing. They're going to die. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what quarantine is about, stupid.
Yeah. Let him die. What the hell is that thing? It's
They're
obviously
dying
not.
of some infectious disease that we don't know anything about. Let them on the ship. Like, no, that's exactly why you don't let them on the ship.
Wouldn't you just like off that person? Like, all right, well, leave him out there for like. Can I at least talk to you about this face to face? Just march your ass across the ship for 30 seconds. Be like, all right, look, dude, and then pull out your gun or your blaster and just like off him, and then
Mhm.
go into the comm and be like, you're not getting on the fucking ship. Go away. You
Yeah, that
healthy
was actually one
assholes
of my
can get on there.
favorite moments. One of the smartest moments of Prometheus, having just watched it, is like one of the guys gets infected and they don't know what the hell it is. So he marches up like to the loading dock of the ship, and Charlize Theron's character is right there with a flamethrower, and he's like, "Yeah, torch me,
Yeah,
kill me now. I'm not going to survive this. Just kill me now before I do something to anyone else."
yeah.
It's like, yes, finally, someone who's smart.
Wouldn't it be awesome to just have like one of these movies where everyone is smart? Like Acid for Blood. Oh shit. Like we're going away from here. Like let's or have somebody saying like, yeah, we're not going to try and weaponize this. We just need to murder every single one of them. Instead of
That
the
is,
whole we can make a weapon out of it. Like, okay.
I think that's been done in the comics. I think that's one of the storylines is like they find the aliens' homeworld, and they're like, you know what? Yeah, this species is too dangerous to live. Let's wipe them out. And of course, they can't.
They don't. Yeah, of course.
And hilarity ensues.
Right. Yeah, back to Florida's comment real quick about his least favorite being Alien Covenant. As he says he hates that movie. I don't hate that movie. I think it's forgettable. It had some cool deaths in it. I mean, which is really kind of what I sign up for when I watch these movies. But I think Prometheus, while it was confusing to me, I thought it was a very, very strong movie. Covenant it was okay. I don't think it was a great follow-up. But it does have that open-ended, kind of okay, now what's going to happen thing. So I hope they do a third one because I would like to see how it all plays out. That was the whole kind of point of, the whole trilogy thing.
Prometheus
yeah.
was confusing in like the bad way. I didn't have a hard time following it. I just didn't think that the decisions made by the characters made any damn sense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. All right, so Kale says Australia does have Alien on Disney Plus, but it's only the theatrical versions. I'll give you my Amazon login, Kale. You can watch the Alien director's cut or Aliens. Alien director's cut's like
that's my
one
problem
extra
too. I got
minute.
the same issue.
Yeah. Florida Fish says, I would love to see an alien movie where they bring the Red Hive aliens. Okay, now I have no idea what
I
that
think that's getting into alien genocide.
is. That the comic book stuff, Florida?
I think so.
See, now that's the thing, AJ. You were mentioning earlier, like they can get away, like saying, well, they can get away with it. Kale says, wait, they're on Amazon. Yeah, that's where I bought them. I bought Alien and Aliens on Amazon. I've got them in my movie collection, Kale. They're streaming. Yeah, I mean, AJ, you were saying earlier that there's a whole bunch more stories in comic books than there are in the movies and whatnot. But I think you can get away with a lot more in comic books because I mean, look at the Marvel stuff. Look at some of the Marvel characters that are out there. That there's no way that you could ever put on screen. It's some of it is like just unwatchable, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm looking at like Armless Tiger Man, By Beast, Big Wheel. Look at these. I mean, it's the Brothers Grimm, Butterball. You got Butterball. What is Butterball? I don't even want to know.
I mean, if it's not a murderous Thanksgiving turkey, then I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, you can get away with a lot of stuff in a comic book that absolutely will not work in live action because in a comic book, it's going to be as ridiculous as all holy get out. But with a movie, you want it to be at least somewhat rooted in reality.
You've got to hook the casuals.
Yeah. So I mean, how many times? Yeah, I mean, how many times have we talked about Ant-Man Quantumania, where some of the characters you're like, what the hell is that thing? And I mean, even they did a great job. I think a perfect example of that is in Winter Soldier, when Arnim Zola, when he was in his consciousness was in the computer. If I remember right, in the comic book, wasn't he actually like his brain or his head or something was in like floating in something or other, and it was actually a physical character.
Terrible, yeah.
Yeah, but in Winter, in the comic book, you can get away with that. But in live action, they changed it to be, oh well, he put his entire consciousness into a giant supercomputer. That works. So all the shit that's weird in the Alien comic books, I don't think you can get away with in the movies, because then you're just going, well, what the shit is this? Now is this like a bunch of is it like, are the aliens like the Avengers now? Like, so,
right.
I don't think that that would work very well. So,
yeah, different factions of aliens is a really hard thing to pull off.
So are you on the final steps here? Are you almost done with this?
Yes. It's fighting me. You see, aliens are tough to kill. They're also tough to build.
It's a pretty interesting build.
Right here.
Okay. It's pretty interesting.
Set of pieces right here, what you see right in front of you.
Oh, very cool. Okay. Well, then why don't we get to
here?
Why don't we get to our final takes on Romulus then?
Yeah.
As we're talking. So what are your thoughts as you're building there? What are your final takeaways from the movie when you think about it as an overarching type of concept?
So I think that the one thing they did very well was to find a way to insert a movie between the two popular ones. I mean, commercially, that's the way you do it, right? You sell everybody on the idea that this is going to be related to and much more like the things that you like, and not some new chapter. Like Terminator just keeps trying to like stack on additional stuff. and make you think like, oh, this is all as good as the original stuff, and we know it's not. So this is more just like, now remember that time period of Alien movies that were really good and the format of Alien movies that were really good? Well, we're just going to give you more of that. And that's exactly the way you sell an audience on something, as you say, like, hey, it's just like the stuff that you like, but it's not a complete ripoff.
Yeah.
So I think they nailed it on all fronts with that. And I think they gave us characters that we care about, while still respecting all the lore and even tying in the stuff that we didn't really care about. Like we were just talking about the Prometheus and Alien Covenant, not the best received of the Alien stuff, but Alvarez has even said in interviews, he's like, it all counts. So his job was specifically to anything that counted as canon was counted as canon. He wasn't going to, just discount or remove anything from the lore that he didn't like. He's like, nope, it's in there, and I'm going to respect it, and I'm going to find a way to pay it off. So I like that. I think it was really cool that way. And as a result, I think what he's done with this movie is improve the franchise overall, because it gives the bad parts a place to live instead of being this like offshoot that people wish didn't exist,
No, I completely agree. And I think that's an excellent point to say that, he improved the franchise. I think that's a great way. I mean, hell, that could be a microcosm for, our entire review, is just to say, that it improves the franchise. And I think, for me, my final thoughts, that's a good place to start. I like that. I went in with low expectations, just wanting to see some cool alien shit and go home, which I'm fine with. I mean, admittedly, I'm fine with that. I'm not one of these people that has to give me something fresh and all this. It's, in music, it's like, do you think AC/DC fans are looking for them to put out a prog record? No, they're like, give me a fucking give me an AC/DC record, dude. Give me a couple 12 3-chord jammers that are like 3 minutes long, and I'll go see the show and let's call it a day. Like, and I'm kind of, like that with this franchise and certain popcorn flicks and stuff. I don't need, characters and exposition and all this kind of stuff. And that being said, I got something way more than that. And as you said, it improved the franchise. And as we talked about earlier, it brought some really cool new aspects to something that was already so well established, and did so in a way that was not cheesy. It was fresh. It was original. It made sense, I think it's the most important thing. The things that they added made sense. It wasn't, it didn't feel like it was shoehorned in there. It wasn't like they were just like cramming it in there for the sake of cramming it in there. It was like, no, this makes sense. Like this, like we talked about the cocoon, which is, where, the chest burster, cocoons itself to become the xenomorph. You're like, oh, that's how they become all giant and stuff like that. That made sense. Okay. You could see that would happen. So that was cool. So yeah, I thought, when they did those sorts of things, that it was interesting. It was, like you said, it improved the franchise. I thought it added a lot of cool things to it. Expanded on things that, did it need expanded? Did it need expanded upon? Excuse me. No, but does it make it cooler now that they have? Yeah. I think
that was actually going to be a follow-up question I had for you was, do you feel like, based on the expansions, as you nicely put, by the way, do you feel like this is required viewing in the franchise?
Yes, I would say so. I definitely think so. Because if for no other reason, let's say you're just going to take one thing out of here and say, well, this is something, that matters. Again, I said earlier, I don't think this is a big deal. But I think it's important enough to where you're like, okay, well, I didn't have to know that, but it does make it cool. The whole thing with, the chest or the face huggers, excuse me, like how they hunt, saying that it's based on sound and temperature, like that's cool. It's not just a bunch of, dumb spider looking things running around hoping to grab onto something.
No.
Uh-oh. Now this is really good for the audio viewers. You dropped a piece, and it's one of those small little black ones too, isn't it? Are you having? I think AJ's having a hard time finding his. There we go.
Of course, I dropped it on the floor, and I've got a nice like modeled carpet that is just gonna hide everything from me. So
Of course.
let's hope it wasn't critical.
I know. And just pretend like it wasn't. You're close
Right.
enough to the end. You got 3 pieces down there.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that was an awesome addition because it's okay. Well, how are they doing this? How are they finding prey? And now we know. And so I think you can do more with that down the road if they do decide to do sequels, which to your point, I think they probably will. Now we know. Okay, well, it's a temperature thing. So let's say they end up in like a really hot room and a facehugger doesn't bother them. Now oh, well, that's why the facehugger isn't bothering them. Can't tell that they're there. So, I think that's cool. So yeah, I think this was a great movie. I was pleasantly surprised, and I definitely think it's required viewing because I think it's the 3rd best movie in the franchise. And I really thought that they did an excellent job of, I was using one of my favorite terms that you turned me on to, hitting you in the member berries, but also, doing something fresh and original with it. And I think this far down the road with it, in terms of the lost piece, John Phillips says, "Oh, you'll find it when you step on it with bare feet." Right. That's awesome.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. It's amazing. It's like a homing device. It's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to hurt badly.
Yep. You'll never find it when you're building, and then like the very next day when you're not doing anything, the first step you take, you'll land right on the bastard.
All I got to do is just run a vacuum. Vacuums are great at finding these things.
Of course. But yeah, so I think I think it did an excellent job. I think it's very worthy. I was very pleasantly surprised, and I think Fede Alvarez deserves a ton of credit for pulling off a very difficult feat, which is to make an excellent sequel to something where the last movie was like 40 years ago. So yeah, it's great, man. So if you guys haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. I think you guys will really enjoy it. I don't see how somebody who is a fan of the Alien franchise would not enjoy it. Oh, we got an alien head.
All right.
There we
now
go.
We only have one very small bit to go.
I thought you said that was the last.
I mean, small bit.
Oh.
There's one piece that we haven't built yet. So for those of you who've been following along, you'll probably know what I'm going to build here.
This, of course,
really not complicated.
It's the xenomorph penis, of course. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the tail.
Yes, that's right. That's right. That's what the xenomorph is doing. Is he's not stabbing people per se. He's more just fucking them. Really like hate fucking him.
Well, H.R. Giger, man, his stuff was very, very erotic in nature. So maybe that's it. That's the one thing we didn't touch on. We wanted to leave one spoiler for everybody in the movie, but now we've spoiled it. So we're just going to say one of the things they added was they gave us the fact that xenomorphs have enormous hogs. So,
yeah,
just like monstrous dogs on a xenomorph. I can't even get through that without the straight face. That monstrous is so stupid.
Dog.
It's so stupid. What is wrong with us? Oh my God. So real quick, as you're putting the pieces all together into one giant thing, Graham J wants to know, could Neil Blomkamp have made a decent Alien movie?
Good question. Do you know who that is?
Isn't that the guy that did District 9?
Yes, and Chappie.
Okay. I think directorially, yes. It depends on the story. I think this story was better than it could have been. So I think if he was given good source material, I think so. I don't know how he is as a writer. I think, Fede Alvarez has kind of a reputation, as AJ said earlier, of kind of like resurrecting things. And, and so I don't know if Neil Blomkamp is kind of in that boat, but I think, based on the movies I've seen that he's done, I would say he could probably, do at least a passable job, you would think. So yeah, it'd be interesting. That's an interesting thought. Miranda finally tuning in. 2 hours and 20 minutes into the show. She says, I definitely need to watch them. Yeah, I think it's great, Miranda. So if you like alien movies, I think you'll really, really like this one. I think that's about the best thing that you can say. So all right, so are you putting all the parts together now?
On that Neil Blomkamp comment. The reason being, he was supposed to be doing Alien 5 and it never took off, and that's how we ended up with Prometheus instead. Studio interference and all that kind of stuff.
Wait, did you say that's how we ended up with Prometheus, or how he ended up with Prometheus? I was going to say. All right.
Yeah, Blomkamp had a whole treatment that basically ignored Alien 3 and beyond. And it was almost greenlit, and then it wasn't. And then they were like, well, crap, we got to make an alien movie. So Ridley Scott, how much money will it take?
Well, I'm glad that happened, because I hate the DC treatment where it's like, that never happened. Fuck it, we're gonna reboot this. Like, I hate that. That just, I can't get behind that. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's always rough. When something is bad but it exists, you're always caught in that middle ground between like, well, I wish it was better, but I've just got to live with the fact that that's reality, instead of saying like, well, that doesn't count, I'm just not going to include that. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah. Miranda says, I've been here since the beginning, but I heard big hogs. Nice. Oh, the Nerfherder console. Good Lord.
Good timing for this sort of stuff.
Yes.
All right. So we're almost done. Got one last connection to make here.
So we'll have to take it out of Lego build camera, and you'll have to just show it yourself, and then we'll solo you.
The Lego build camera out.
Alrighty, let's do that. All right, let's put AJ in solo here. So we've got our Xenomorph. Here we go. So for all you audio viewers, we apologize, but the Xenomorph looks great. I'll give a commentary. Where's the drool? Isn't there like the drool piece?
Yes, there is the drool piece. I was wondering if you were going to notice that was not present. I found it. I totally found it. So it's there. I'll put that on right now.
So this is the final piece. So they actually have a Lego piece that looks like drool. Excuse me.
There you go.
So it does look, it's very detailed, considering it's a fan build. I mean, whoever came up with this design just did an excellent job, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that
just
just
stands on its own. It's very well balanced and everything. So yes, it does.
It's only $20, huh? Wow,
$20. And so usually what I do with these sort of things, like these Chinese companies that do these, they just steal the instructions and build it and never give anything to the original designer. So I was going to buy the instructions, but I can't find them anymore. There's an old link that goes nowhere to rebrickable.com, which is where the instructions were originally posted, I guess, but they're not there anymore. So I don't know if it was like a copyright takedown or something, but whatever the case, I wish I knew who designed this thing so I can give them appropriate credit and, compensation. But instead I just, went on Temu, paid $20, and this is what we got. But the pieces work. They all fit well. This thing can hold poses like a boss. It's awesome. So yeah, I'll put some pictures up on our socials here with it completely built with the stand and the face hugger and everything. And yeah, highly recommend. I can even put the link to Temu where you can buy this thing for yourself. It's an awesome little kit.
For $20, that is crazy.
Yeah.
You get a $20 Lego set at the store, and it's like 15 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely not that, man. So
yeah.
Awesome.
So there we go.
All right. Well, on that note,
than expected. Sorry about that, but you're a champ for hanging out with me, man.
Well, I wasn't gonna bail. All right, I'm going to bed, dude.
Yeah.
Enjoy finishing the show without me. Besides, it's me. Like I can filibuster with the best of them. So, all right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in to another episode of the Nerfherder Council. We're going to close up shop for the evening. We will be right back here in 2 weeks. The date will be, I'm always bad with the dates. Let me think. 31st, 1st, 2nd,
Was it
3rd.
12th?
It'll be the 10th.
10th.
Is it the 10th?
Okay.
No, the 11th. Will be
There
the
we go.
11th. Yeah. 3 days after the Browns game. Yeah, so it'll be Wednesday, September 11th. Ooh, wow. We'll be doing a show on 9/11. We'll be doing a show on 9/11. Excuse me, at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So jump back in for that. Want to thank everybody in the chat. You guys always make the show go. Our very good friend Kale McLeish and our good friends, excuse me, Kale McLeish and Chastity Crawley. Great to see you. John Phillips, Florida Fish Ori. We had Graham J in here. Good to see you, man. Miranda, always good to see you as well. Discuss Metal Joe, Joseph Wren. So yeah, guys, remember that you can always jump in on any of the shows and throw your 2 cents worth in. And it's always good to have banter back and forth and get your opinions on stuff. So much appreciated to all you guys. Thanks for the support. Guys, once again, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. And as I did mention in the broadcast, there are some excellent alien audio dramas on Audible that you can get. One of them actually does tell the story of the colony on LV-426 before aliens happened, so that one's very interesting. You can check that out. If you would like to get customizable Nerfherder Council swag, just go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. If you would like to get some virtual Cantina Network swag, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina minus the And if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to click the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. That way you are notified anytime we go live. And again, guys, we will be right back here on Wednesday, September 11th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So once again, man, I'm your host, JT. I'm not, you know what, real quick, I'm not even going to give my Twitter or my X handle anymore because I haven't looked at it in forever. So, I'm just going to say I'm JT. So there you go. I'm on Instagram at Dog Pound Jedi, but I don't even post shit on there either. I just look up videos and dogs. So there you go. So yeah, I am your host, JT. AJ, go ahead and do your thing.
Yeah, I'm at Drake Adams 579, but you can still tweet at us at NHC Podcast. I do have that hooked up. So yeah, you can reach us there just fine. All the other socials as well. You can find us on Patreon. You can find us. I did actually even confirm that we do still have our TikTok handle, even though there's nothing on that channel whatsoever because we don't talk dicks. But hey, if you want to message us on there, if you can message us on there, I don't know. I don't use TikTok, but we're on it. Yeah, so we're in all the places. I'm at Drake Adams 579, and you can hit us up whenever you want.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. We'll see you on September 11th, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, we'll catch you next time. See ya.